What would you do if the man you loved looked you in the eye and called you worthless? What if your own family stood by and watched as you were destroyed? And what if, in your darkest moment, when you were broken and bleeding, the most powerful man in the kingdom claimed you as his? This is the story of Lyra, a girl who was tortured, rejected, and left to die. But fate had other plans. Because sometimes the person who saves you is the one you never expected. And sometimes love doesn't ask permission. It just takes. Before we begin, if you love intense romance, shocking twists, and stories that make your heart race, hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. New chapters every day, and this story is about to take you on a ride you'll never forget. Now let's dive in. Chapter 1. Lyra stood in the grand hall of the Silvercrest Pack, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might burst from her chest. She wore a simple white dress, the only nice thing she owned, and her hands trembled as she clutched the fabric. Around her, hundreds of pack members filled the space, all dressed in their finest clothes, all watching her with curious eyes. Today was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. Today, Alpha Ronan Ashford would officially claim her as his mate and his Luna. The massive wooden doors at the front of the hall stood open, and Lyra could see the morning sun streaming through. Everything was perfect. The flowers, the decorations, the witnesses. Her father sat in the front row next to his new wife, Serina, and her stepsister Isolde. They weren't smiling, but Lyra didn't care. After today, nothing they did would matter. She would be Luna. She would finally be safe. Ronan stood at the altar, tall and handsome in his ceremonial robes. His dark hair was pulled back, and his strong jaw was set. He looked every bit the powerful alpha he was. When their eyes met across the distance, Lyra felt the mate bond hum between them, warm and electric. They had been fated mates for 2 years now, ever since her 18th birthday when the bond had snapped into place. The ceremony began. The pack elder raised his hands, and the crowd fell silent. "We gather today to witness the claiming of Luna Lyra by Alpha Ronan Ashford," the elder announced, his voice echoing through the hall. "This bond, blessed by the moon goddess herself, will unite them for eternity." Lyra's heart soared. Finally, after 2 years of waiting, after enduring Isolde's cruelty and Serina's coldness, after all the pain and the hunger and the nights spent locked in the basement, it was all going to be worth it. Ronan would claim her, and she would leave that horrible house forever. The elder turned to Ronan. "Alpha Ronan, do you accept Lyra as your mate and Luna?" The hall went completely silent. Every eye was on Ronan. He stared at Lyra for a long moment, and something in his expression made her stomach twist. His eyes were cold, distant, nothing like the warmth she was used to seeing there. "No," Ronan said clearly. The word hit Lyra like a physical blow. She stumbled back a step, sure she had heard wrong. The crowd erupted in shocked whispers. "What?" Lyra whispered, her voice breaking. Ronan stepped forward, his face hard as stone. "I, Alpha Ronan Ashford, reject Lyra as my mate and Luna." The rejection bond slammed into Lyra like a tidal wave. Pain exploded through her chest, so intense she couldn't breathe. Her bones cracked audibly, and blood poured from her nose and mouth. She collapsed to her knees, screaming, clutching at her chest as the mate bond was violently ripped away from her soul. The agony was beyond anything she had ever experienced. It felt like her insides were being shredded, like every nerve in her body was on fire. She couldn't see, couldn't think, could only scream and scream as her world shattered. "You're an Omega," Ronan said coldly, looking down at her writhing form. "The weakest rank. Pathetic. Worthless. Did you really think I would make you my Luna? Did you think I could stand having such a weak, disgusting creature by my side?" Lyra tried to speak, tried to ask why, but only blood came out of her mouth. Her vision was going dark at the edges. "I need a strong Luna," Ronan continued, his voice carrying across the silent hall. "Someone worthy of standing beside me. Someone the pack can respect." He turned and held out his hand. From the side of the hall, Isolde stepped forward, beautiful and smiling in a golden dress. She took Ronan's hand and pressed herself against his side. "This is my chosen mate," Ronan announced, wrapping his arm around Isolde's waist. "Isolde is strong, capable, and everything a Luna should be. And I love her." Isolde looked down at Lyra with pure triumph in her eyes. She leaned up and kissed Ronan deeply, right there in front of everyone. The crowd murmured louder now, some shocked, some approving. Lyra's father didn't move, didn't speak. He just sat there, staring straight ahead, while his daughter lay dying on the floor. "Remove her from my sight," Ronan ordered, waving his hand dismissively. Throw her out. 2 guards rushed forward and grabbed Lyra's arms. She was still convulsing from the rejection, blood pouring from her eyes and mouth now, her bones broken in multiple places. Every movement sent fresh waves of agony through her body. Please, Lyra gasped, looking up at Ronan through blurred, bloody vision. Please, why? He didn't even look at her. He was too busy whispering something in Isolde's ear that made her laugh. The guards dragged Lyra toward the exit, her body leaving a trail of blood across the polished floor. The pack members parted to let them through, most looking away, unwilling to meet her eyes. No one helped. No one protested. As they pulled her through the doorway into the bright sunlight, Isolde's voice rang out behind her, sweet as poison. Goodbye, sister. Enjoy dying alone. The guards hauled Lyra down the steps of the pack house, her feet dragging uselessly. They were taking her to the forest, she realized dimly through the pain. They were going to dump her there and let the rejection finish killing her. Fresh tears mixed with the blood on her face. She had been so stupid, so blind. Ronan had never loved her. He had probably been with Isolde for months, maybe years. And Lyra had just accepted every cruel word, every time he ignored her pain, because she thought it would get better after the claiming. She thought wrong. The guards reached the edge of the forest and threw her down onto the dirt. Her body hit the ground hard, and she felt more bones crack. She couldn't move anymore. Couldn't even scream. She could only lie there, bleeding and broken, waiting for death. The guards turned to walk away. Then the world stopped. A wave of pure power rolled over everything, so strong and suffocating that the guards dropped to their knees instantly, gasping for air. The trees bent under the weight of it. Birds fell silent. Lyra, barely conscious, felt the power wash over her, and for a moment, the pain actually lessened. Stop! The single word was a command that could not be disobeyed. The guards froze in place, trembling. Footsteps approached, slow and deliberate. Through her failing vision, Lyra saw polished black boots stop right in front of her face. Someone crouched down, and a strong hand gently lifted her chin. Lyra found herself staring into eyes of molten gold. The man was devastatingly handsome, with sharp features, dark hair, and an aura of absolute power that made Ronan look like a child playing dress-up. He wore black clothing that screamed wealth and authority, and his expression was unreadable as he studied her ruined face. "Do you have a mate?" he asked quietly. His voice was deep and smooth, and something about it made Lyra's broken heart flutter strangely. She tried to speak, coughed up more blood, and finally managed to whisper, "No. He rejected me. I'm nothing. I'm worthless." The man's eyes flashed dangerously. His jaw clenched. Then, without warning, he tilted her head to the side and his mouth descended on her neck. The bite was firm and possessive, and Lyra felt his teeth sink into her skin. Warmth flooded through her body, chasing away some of the cold that had been creeping in. A new bond, stronger and brighter than anything she had ever felt with Ronan, exploded into existence. Golden light burst from where their skin touched, so bright the guards had to shield their eyes. The man pulled back, and Lyra saw his lips were stained with her blood. His mark glowed on her neck, visible and permanent. He stood, lifting her easily into his arms as if she weighed nothing, and turned to face the pack house where people were now streaming out to see what was happening. "This woman is mine," he announced, his voice carrying across the entire territory with supernatural force. "My mate, my queen. I am Kael Ashford, your Alpha King, and I have claimed her. Anyone who harms her, disrespects her, or questions my choice will answer to me personally." Lyra's fading consciousness registered the name. Kael Ashford, Ronan's older brother. The Alpha King himself. Through the crowd, she could see Ronan's face, frozen in absolute shock. Isolde looked like she had been slapped. Kael looked down at Lyra, and his expression softened just slightly. "Sleep now. You're safe." And for the first time in years, Lyra believed someone. Her eyes closed and darkness took her. But this time, she wasn't dying alone in the dirt. This time, she was in the arms of a king. Chapter 2. Lyra's eyes opened slowly, and for a moment, she had no idea where she was. The ceiling above her was painted with intricate gold designs that caught the light from somewhere to her left. The bed beneath her was so soft it felt like lying on a cloud, nothing like the thin mattress she had slept on in the basement of her father's house. Silk sheets covered her body, cool and smooth against her skin. She tried to sit up and immediately gasped. Pain shot through every part of her body. Her ribs ached. Her arms felt heavy. Even breathing hurt. But she was alive. The memories came flooding back. The rejection. The agony. Being dragged through the dirt. And then him. The man with golden eyes who had bitten her neck and claimed her in front of everyone. Kael Ashford. The Alpha King. Lyra's hand flew to her neck, and she felt the raised skin there. The mark. It was real. She could feel it pulsing with warmth, and through it, she could sense something else. Someone else. A presence in the back of her mind that felt powerful and ancient and terrifyingly intense. You're awake. Lyra's head snapped toward the voice, and she immediately regretted the sudden movement as pain flared in her neck. Kael sat in a chair beside the bed, watching her with those unsettling gold eyes. He looked exactly as she remembered, devastatingly handsome and radiating power. He wore simple black clothing now, but somehow he still looked like royalty. His presence filled the entire room. Where am I? Lyra's voice came out as a rasp, her throat raw. The royal palace, Kael said simply. You've been unconscious for 3 days. 3 days. Lyra's mind reeled. She looked around the room properly now. It was massive, far bigger than any room she had ever been in. Everything was decorated in blacks and golds, elegant and expensive. Tall windows showed a view of mountains in the distance. Why did you claim me? The question burst out of her before she could stop it. You don't even know me. Kael leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. His eyes never left her face. I know enough. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting right now. His voice was firm but not unkind. You need to heal first. Then we'll talk. Before Lyra could argue, the door opened and a woman walked in. She was older, maybe in her 50s, with silver streaked through her dark hair and kind eyes. She wore the simple robes of a healer and carried a large bag. Good, you're awake, the woman said warmly. I'm Elena, the head royal healer. I've been taking care of you. Elena set her bag down on a table and moved to Lyra's side. May I examine you? Lyra nodded, too confused and overwhelmed to do anything else. Elena's hands began to glow with soft white light as she passed them over Lyra's body. Her expression grew more and more troubled as she worked. Finally, she pulled back and looked at Kael. Your Majesty, I need to speak with you privately. Anything you have to say, you can say in front of her, Kael said firmly. Elena hesitated, then nodded. She turned back to Lyra, and her eyes were full of sympathy. Child, your body has been through severe trauma. The rejection caused significant damage to your internal organs and skeletal structure. But that's not what concerns me most. Elena paused. You've been poisoned. Slowly, over a long period of time. Years, I would guess. Shadow venom. The room went very cold. Shadow venom? Lyra whispered. She had heard of it before. It was a dark magic poison, illegal everywhere, that slowly drained a person's strength and wolf abilities. Eventually it killed. Who had access to your food? Kael's voice was deadly quiet. Lyra thought back. My stepmother, Serina. She controlled the household. I ate whatever she gave me. Kael's hands clenched into fists. The air around him seemed to darken. Elena continued gently. The poison has been suppressing your wolf. Badly. I can try to flush it from your system, but there's something else. She exchanged a glance with Kael. There's dark magic woven through your body. A suppression spell. Very old, very powerful. Someone didn't want you to know what you really are. What I really am. Lyra's heart was pounding now. I'm just an Omega. The weakest rank. No, Kael said softly. You're not. Elena moved her hands over Lyra's chest, and the white light grew brighter. With your permission, I'd like to break the suppression spell. But I must warn you, it will be painful. Lyra looked between Elena and Kael. Every instinct screamed at her not to trust anyone, to run, to hide. But where would she go? Back to her father's house, where Isolde would torture her? Back to Ronan, who had destroyed her? And something about Kael made her feel safe in a way she couldn't explain. The bond hummed between them, warm and reassuring. Do it, Lyra said. Elena nodded and placed both hands on Lyra's chest. The white light intensified until it was almost blinding. Lyra felt something inside her start to crack, like ice breaking. Then the pain hit. It felt like her entire body was being torn apart from the inside. She screamed, her back arching off the bed. Through the agony, she felt something clawing its way up from deep within her soul. Something that had been chained and buried and forced into silence. Her wolf. But this wasn't the small, timid wolf she remembered from before the poison. This was something else entirely. Something massive and furious and powerful beyond anything she could have imagined. Black smoke began pouring from Lyra's skin. The temperature in the room dropped so fast that frost formed on the windows. Elena stumbled back, her eyes wide. Kael stood but didn't move away. He watched intently. The smoke coalesced and condensed, and suddenly Lyra felt her body shifting. Bones reformed, muscles expanded. She fell off the bed onto the floor as the transformation overtook her. When it was done, she stood on 4 legs. Elena gasped. Even Kael looked surprised. Lyra looked down at herself and couldn't process what she was seeing. Her fur was pitch black, so dark it seemed to absorb the light around it. But her paws were massive, easily twice the size of a normal wolf. She was huge, and when she caught her reflection in a mirror across the room, she saw her eyes were glowing bright red. "A demon wolf," Kael said quietly. There was something like satisfaction in his voice. "I knew it." "Impossible," Elena breathed. "The demon wolf bloodline has been extinct for 500 years. They were all killed in the Great Purge." Lyra tried to speak, but only a growl came out. She tried to shift back to human form, but her wolf wouldn't listen. It was too strong, too wild, too angry from years of being suppressed and poisoned. Panic set in. She backed up against the wall, her massive body knocking over furniture. Her wolf wanted to destroy everything, wanted to hunt, wanted blood. Kael moved so fast she didn't see him coming. One moment he was across the room, the next he was right in front of her. He placed one hand on her massive head, right between her ears. "Easy," he said softly. "I know you're scared. I know you're angry. But you're safe here. No one will hurt you again." His touch was warm, and through the mate bond, Lyra felt his absolute calm flowing into her. Slowly, gradually, her wolf began to settle. The red glow in her eyes dimmed. "That's it," Kael murmured. "Come back to me." The shift back to human was easier this time. Within moments, Lyra was kneeling on the floor, naked and shaking. Kael immediately wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. Never looking anywhere inappropriate. "A demon wolf," Lyra whispered, staring at her hands as if they belonged to a stranger. "How?" Kael helped her back onto the bed and sat beside her. "Demon wolves are ancient. They're not actually demons, despite the name. They're a bloodline blessed by the first Alpha King thousands of years ago. They're stronger, faster, and more powerful than any other wolf. But they were hunted to extinction because other packs feared their power. But how can I be one? My mother was just a normal pack member. My father is just an alpha." "Your father isn't your real father," Kael said gently. "I had my people investigate while you were unconscious. You were adopted as a baby. Your real parents are unknown, but based on your bloodline, they were likely very powerful." Lyra's world tilted. Nothing was real. Everything she thought she knew was a lie. "Why did you know?" she asked, looking at Kael. "How did you know what I was when you saw me?" Kael's eyes met hers, and for the first time, she saw something vulnerable there. "Because I'm half demon myself," he said quietly. "My mother was a demon queen from the demon realm. She fell in love with my father, the previous Alpha King, and they had me and my brother. She died giving birth to Ronan. But I inherited her abilities. I can sense demon blood in others. The moment I saw you lying in that dirt, I felt it. You called to something in me." The mate bond pulsed between them, and Lyra understood. They weren't just mates. They were two halves of something ancient and powerful. A knock on the door interrupted them. A guard entered and bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, Alpha Ronan is here. He's demanding to see the girl." Lyra's blood went cold. Kael's expression hardened into something terrifying. "Is he now?" Kael said softly, dangerously. He stood and looked down at Lyra. "Stay here. Rest. I'll handle my brother." "Kael," Lyra said, surprising herself by using his name. "You were close with him, weren't you?" "Before?" Kael's jaw tightened. "We were. But he made his choice when he rejected you. He doesn't get to regret it now." He left the room, and Lyra lay back on the bed, exhausted. Through the mate bond, she could feel Kael's anger building as he walked through the palace. Elena approached with a warm smile. "You should eat something. You've had quite a shock." But Lyra wasn't thinking about food. She was thinking about Ronan, about the look on his face when Kael had claimed her. She was thinking about Isolde's triumphant smile. And she was thinking about her demon wolf, that powerful, angry creature that lived inside her now. For the first time in her life, Lyra wasn't weak. And she was starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, being rejected was the best thing that ever happened to her. Because now she belonged to a king. And together, they were unstoppable. Chapter 3. Lyra stood by the window of her room, staring out at the palace grounds below. 2 days had passed since she learned the truth about what she was. 2 days of Elena teaching her how to control her demon wolf, how to shift without losing herself to the rage. It wasn't easy. The demon wolf was violent and wild, nothing like the small, timid creature she remembered from before. This wolf wanted blood and freedom and revenge. But slowly, Lyra was learning to work with it instead of fighting it. She touched the mark on her neck absently. She could feel Kael through it even now. He was somewhere in the palace, meeting with advisors, handling kingdom business. The bond let her sense his emotions. Right now, he was irritated about something. The door opened behind her, and Lyra turned. A young woman in servant's clothing entered carrying a tray of food. "Good morning, my lady," the girl said cheerfully, setting the tray on a table. "His Majesty requested that you eat a proper breakfast today." Lyra smiled slightly. Kael had been insistent about her eating regularly, rebuilding her strength after years of starvation and poison. "Thank you." The servant bowed and left. Lyra moved to the table and looked at the food. Fresh bread, fruit, eggs, meat. More food than she used to get in a week at her father's house. She was halfway through eating when she felt it. A sudden spike of anger through the mate bond, so intense it made her gasp. Kael was furious about something. Then she heard shouting from somewhere in the palace. Raised voices. The crash of something breaking. Lyra's demon wolf stirred restlessly inside her. Something was wrong. She left the room and followed the noise through the elegant hallways. Guards stood at attention as she passed, but none tried to stop her. They had been told she was their queen now, even if no official ceremony had taken place yet. The shouting grew louder. Lyra turned a corner and found herself in a massive entrance hall. At the far end, near the main doors, Kael stood facing someone. Ronan. Lyra's breath caught. She hadn't seen him since the rejection. He looked terrible. His hair was messy, his clothes rumpled, and there were dark circles under his eyes like he hadn't slept in days. "I'm not leaving until I see her," Ronan was yelling. "She's my mate." Kael said coldly. "She was your mate, until you rejected her in front of your entire pack and left her to die." "I made a mistake," Ronan's voice cracked. "I was stupid, I was proud, I was wrong. But I love her, Kael. I've always loved her. You have a strange way of showing love, little brother." Kael's voice was ice, calling her worthless, letting your chosen mate and her family torture her for years, watching her bleed on the floor and doing nothing. Ronan flinched like he'd been struck. I know what I did. I'm trying to make it right. There is no making this right." Kael stepped closer to Ronan, and even from where she stood, Lyra could see how much larger and more powerful Kael was. "You rejected her. By ancient law, she's free of any claim you might have had. And I claimed her. She's mine now. You can't just take her." Ronan shouted. "You're my brother. How could you do this to me? How could I?" Kael's laugh was harsh and bitter. "I saved her life. I gave her safety and care and protection. Everything you should have given her and didn't. Don't you dare make yourself the victim here." Ronan's hands clenched into fists. "I want to see her. I want to talk to her. She deserves to make her own choice. She made her choice when she accepted my mark. Let her tell me that herself." The two brothers stared at each other, and Lyra could see it. The years of love and friendship between them crumbling into nothing. They had been close once. Best friends. And now they looked ready to kill each other. "Lyra is not a prize to be fought over," Kael said quietly, dangerously. "She's a person. A woman who has suffered more than you could possibly understand. And I will not allow you to cause her more pain. I would never hurt her again. You already did. Permanently." Ronan's face twisted with anguish, and suddenly he lunged forward, grabbing the front of Kael's shirt. "Please, Kael. Please. She's everything to me. I can't eat, I can't sleep, all I see is her face. I'm dying without her." Kael's expression didn't change. He grabbed Ronan's wrist and twisted sharply. Ronan cried out in pain and stumbled back. "You're not dying," Kael said coldly. "You're just feeling a fraction of what she felt when you destroyed her. Good. You deserve it." That was when Ronan's eyes lifted and found Lyra standing at the end of the hall. His entire face transformed. "Lyra!" He tried to move toward her, but Kael blocked his path instantly. Lyra's heart was pounding, seeing Ronan hurt in a way she didn't expect. Not because she still loved him, but because looking at him brought back every moment of pain and humiliation. The rejection. The way he looked at her with disgust. The sound of him saying he loved Isolde. "Lyra, please. Ronan called desperately. Please, just listen to me. I made a terrible mistake. The worst mistake of my life. I was an idiot. I was blind. I let pride and stupidity destroy the best thing I ever had. Lyra walked forward slowly. Her demon wolf growled inside her, wanting to attack, to hurt him the way he hurt her. Kael turned to look at her, his expression questioning. She could feel his concern through the bond, his need to protect her. She stopped a few feet away from both of them, close enough to see the desperation in Ronan's eyes. You rejected me because I was weak, Lyra said quietly. Her voice was steady, cold. You called me worthless. Pathetic. You said you could never have such a disgusting creature by your side. I was wrong. Ronan's eyes were wet now. I was so wrong, Lyra. You're not weak. You've never been weak. You survived years of abuse and torture, and you're still standing. That's not weakness. That's strength I could never have. You watched Isolde burn me with candles, Lyra continued, her voice getting harder. You knew she locked me in the basement for days without food. You knew, and you did nothing. Because you were already sleeping with her, weren't you? Ronan's face went pale. He didn't deny it. How long? Lyra demanded. How long were you with her while telling me we would be together someday? 2 years, Ronan whispered. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. 2 years. The entire time they had been fated mates, he had been betraying her. Lyra felt something inside her snap. Not break. Snap. Like a chain that had been holding her back suddenly letting go. I don't love you, she said clearly. I don't think I ever really did. I loved the idea of being safe, of being wanted, of having someone protect me. But you never protected me. You never wanted me. You just liked having someone who worshipped you. That's not true, Ronan said desperately. I love you, Lyra. I really do. Please, please give me another chance. No. The word was simple and final. Ronan looked like she had stabbed him. Lyra, please. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm begging you. I'll spend the rest of my life making this up to you. I'll do anything. Anything. There's nothing you can do, Lyra said. You rejected me in front of hundreds of people. You humiliated me. You broke me. And now you want me back because someone else claimed me? Because I'm not the weak Omega you thought I was. She stepped closer, and Ronan's eyes widened as he saw the red glow starting in her eyes. Her demon wolf was close to the surface now. I am not yours anymore, Ronan. I will never be yours again. So go home. Go back to Isolde. I'm sure she's waiting for you. I don't want Isolde, Ronan shouted. I want you. Kael stepped between them again, his eyes beginning to glow gold. She answered you. Now leave before I have you thrown out. You stole her from me. Ronan's rage was building now, grief turning into anger. She would have forgiven me if you hadn't interfered. You've always been jealous of me. Jealous? Kael's voice was deadly quiet. Of what exactly? Your cruelty? Your cowardice? Your complete inability to see what was right in front of you. You wanted to take something from me. You never cared about her. You just wanted to hurt me. That was the wrong thing to say. Kael moved so fast Lyra almost didn't see it. His fist connected with Ronan's jaw with a sickening crack. Ronan flew backward, crashing into a marble pillar. He slumped to the ground, blood pouring from his mouth. Don't, Kael said softly, standing over his brother, ever suggest that I don't care about her. Ever. Ronan tried to stand, wobbling. We used to be brothers, Kael. Best friends. How can you do this? You stopped being my brother the moment you hurt her. Ronan's face crumpled. For a moment, he looked like a lost child. Then his expression hardened. This isn't over. She's my fated mate. The bond will always pull her back to me. Actually, Lyra said, and both men looked at her. It won't. She felt the truth of it as she spoke. The rejection had severed the bond. And Kael's mark had created something new and stronger. There was nothing left connecting her to Ronan except bad memories. The moon goddess doesn't force us to be with people who harm us, Lyra continued. The rejection broke the bond, Ronan. You made sure of that when you chose Isolde over me. There's nothing between us anymore. Ronan stood there, swaying slightly, blood dripping from his split lip. He looked between Lyra and Kael, and something in his expression shifted. Turned darker. Fine, he said hoarsely. Fine. Keep her. But don't think this is over. She's a demon wolf now, isn't she? I can smell it. Do you know what the other alphas will say when they find out the Alpha King has bonded with a monster? Kael's eyes flashed dangerously. Get out. Guards appeared from nowhere and grabbed Ronan's arms. He didn't fight as they dragged him toward the doors. But just before they pushed him outside, he looked back at Lyra one more time. I love you, he called out. I'll always love you. And I'll get you back. I swear it. Then he was gone. The massive doors slammed shut, and silence fell over the hall. Lyra stood there, her whole body trembling. She wasn't sure if it was from anger or relief or something else entirely. Kael approached her slowly, carefully. Are you all right? She nodded, not trusting her voice. You handled that well, Kael said gently. I know it wasn't easy. I thought I would feel something when I saw him, Lyra admitted quietly. But I just felt empty, like looking at a stranger. That's normal. The person you thought you loved never really existed. Lyra looked up at Kael. He was watching her with those intense gold eyes, and through the mate bond, she could feel his concern, his protectiveness, his anger at his brother for hurting her. Thank you, she said. For defending me. Always, Kael replied simply. Before either of them could say anything else, a guard ran into the hall, his face pale. Your Majesty, the palace is under attack. Kael's entire demeanor changed instantly, shifting into warrior mode. Where? The East Wing. Multiple attackers, all wearing masks. They're heading toward the Queen's chambers. Lyra's blood went cold. Her chambers. They were coming for her. Kael grabbed her hand. Stay with me. Do not leave my side. They ran through the palace, guards forming around them. Lyra could hear the sounds of fighting now. Metal clashing, people screaming, the growls of wolves. They burst into the East Wing, and Lyra saw them. 15 masked figures dressed all in black, moving with supernatural speed. They had already killed several guards, and blood stained the elegant floors. One of the attackers turned and saw Lyra. There! The demon wolf. Take her alive. They all rushed toward her at once. Kael stepped forward, his body already beginning to shift. You'll have to go through me first. But there were too many. They surrounded Kael, attacking from all sides. He fought brilliantly, taking down 3 immediately, but the others kept coming. One of the attackers broke through and lunged at Lyra with a blade. She didn't think. Her demon wolf exploded to the surface. The shift was instant this time, smooth and controlled. One moment she was human, the next she was a massive black wolf with glowing red eyes. The attacker froze in shock. That hesitation cost him his life. Lyra's wolf moved with speed she didn't know she possessed. Her jaws closed around the attacker's throat and ripped. Blood sprayed everywhere. The body hit the ground. The violence should have horrified her. Instead, her demon wolf reveled in it. Another attacker came at her from the side. She spun and caught his arm in her jaws, her teeth crushing bone. He screamed. She threw him into a wall so hard his neck snapped. It felt good. It felt right. 2 more attacked together. Lyra was faster. She leaped over one and tore out the spine of the other. The first one tried to run. She caught him in 3 bounds and eviscerated him with her claws. Within minutes, the hall was filled with bodies. Lyra stood in the center of the carnage, covered in blood, her wolf form breathing heavily. The remaining attackers looked at her with pure terror in their eyes. They turned and ran. Kael, who had finished with his own attackers, shifted back to human form. He was also covered in blood, but his eyes were focused on Lyra with something that looked almost like pride. Let them go, he said quietly. Lyra's wolf wanted to chase, to hunt, to kill every single one. But she forced herself to listen to Kael. Slowly, reluctantly, she shifted back to human. She stood there, naked and soaked in blood, staring at her own hands. She had just killed 5 people. Brutally. Viciously. And she didn't feel guilty. Lyra, Kael said gently, approaching her. He wrapped his cloak around her shoulders. Look at me. She raised her eyes to his. You did what you had to do, he said firmly. They came here to kill you. You defended yourself. There's no shame in that. I liked it, Lyra whispered. Killing them. I liked it. That's your demon wolf. She's a warrior. It's natural for her to find satisfaction in defeating enemies. Kael cupped her face gently. But that doesn't make you a monster. It makes you a survivor. Guards were running through the halls now, checking for more attackers. One approached Kael and bowed. Your Majesty, we caught one. He's being held in the dungeons. Good. Kael's eyes went cold. I want to know who sent them. And I want to know tonight. He looked down at Lyra. Can you walk? She nodded numbly. Come. Let's get you cleaned up. Then we're going to find out who's trying to kill you. As they walked through the blood-soaked hallway, Lyra looked back at the bodies. Chapter 4. Lyra stood in the bathing chamber, watching the water turn red as the blood washed off her skin. The enormous marble tub was big enough for 5 people, filled with hot water that steamed in the cool air. Servants had added oils that smelled like lavender and something else she couldn't identify. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She kept seeing the moment her jaws had closed around that first attacker's throat. The way his blood had tasted on her tongue. The satisfaction her demon wolf had felt with each kill. What was she becoming? The door opened and Kael entered. Lyra instinctively covered herself with her arms, but he didn't look at her inappropriately. He simply sat on the edge of the tub, his own clothes still stained with blood from the fight. "The prisoner is ready for questioning," he said quietly. "But I wanted to check on you first." "I'm fine," Lyra said automatically. "No, you're not." Kael's voice was gentle. "You just killed for the first time. That's not something anyone processes easily." Lyra looked at him, really looked at him. His golden eyes were tired, and there was a cut on his cheekbone from the fight. He had killed people today too. Many people. And he was sitting here worried about her. "Does it ever get easier?" she asked. "The killing?" "No," Kael said honestly. "But you learn to live with it. You learn to separate necessary violence from cruelty. What you did today was necessary. They came to murder you. You defended yourself. My wolf enjoyed it. Of course she did. She's been caged and poisoned and suppressed for years. Finally being allowed to fight, to be powerful, that would feel good to any wolf." Kael reached out and gently pushed a wet strand of hair from her face. "But your wolf is not all of who you are. You're also the woman who forgave your father even though he abandoned you. You're kind and gentle when you're not in danger. Don't let the violence define you." Lyra felt tears prick her eyes. "I don't know who I am anymore. Everything I thought I knew was a lie. I'm not an Omega. I'm not even my father's real daughter. I'm some kind of demon creature with a monster inside me." "You're Lyra," Kael said firmly. "That's all that matters. The rest is just details." The mate bond pulsed between them, and Lyra felt his sincerity through it. He really believed what he was saying. He really saw her as more than just her bloodline or her power. "Why do you care so much?" she asked quietly. "You barely know me." Kael was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "Get dressed. There's something I need to show you before we question the prisoner. Something that will help you understand." 20 minutes later, Lyra was dressed in clean clothes, a simple black dress that someone had left for her. Her hair was still damp as she followed Kael through the palace corridors. They went deeper than she had been before, down stone stairs that seemed to go on forever. Finally, they reached a heavy wooden door. Kael pulled out a key and unlocked it. The room beyond was small and circular, with walls covered in strange symbols that glowed faintly blue. In the center of the room was a stone pedestal, and on it sat a crystal sphere about the size of her head. "This is a memory stone," Kael explained. "It's ancient magic, very rare. It can show past lives if two souls have been connected before." He looked at her intensely. "I want to try something. If I'm right, this will explain everything. If I'm wrong, nothing will happen. Past lives?" Lyra's heart was pounding. "You think we knew each other before?" "I know we did. I've felt it since the moment I saw you." Kael held out his hand. "Trust me." Lyra hesitated only a moment before placing her hand in his. The mate bond flared at the contact, warm and reassuring. Kael led her to the pedestal. "Place your other hand on the sphere." "I'll do the same." They both touched the crystal. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the sphere began to glow brighter and brighter until the entire room was filled with white light. Lyra gasped as images flooded her mind. She saw a castle, but not this one. This castle was darker, built from black stone, with towers that seemed to pierce the sky. And standing on the ramparts was a man who looked like Kael but different. His hair was longer, his clothes ancient, and his eyes glowed constantly gold. He was a demon king, the ruler of both the demon realm and the wolf territories, the most powerful being alive. And beside him stood a woman with long black hair and red eyes. A demon queen, beautiful and fierce and deadly. The woman was her. Lyra knew it with absolute certainty. The visions continued faster now. She saw the demon king and queen ruling together, feared and respected by all. She saw them fighting side by side in battles, unstoppable. She saw them laughing together, holding each other, completely in love. They were fated mates, bonded souls, two halves of one whole. Then the visions turned dark. A woman appeared, beautiful, with flowing red hair and green eyes. She wore the robes of a powerful witch, and she looked at the demon king with obsessive hunger. The witch's name came to Lyra's mind like a whisper. Serina. But this Serina looked younger, different. Yet it was definitely her. The same stepmother who had poisoned Lyra for years. In the vision, Serina approached the Demon King one night while he was alone. She tried to seduce him, offering herself, declaring her love. But the king rejected her coldly. He loved only his queen. Serina's face twisted with rage and hurt. She left the castle that night. The vision jumped forward. The Demon King and Queen were in their private chambers, holding each other, discussing plans for their kingdom. They were happy. Safe. Then Serina appeared behind them, her hands glowing with dark magic. She chanted words in an ancient language, and the king and queen suddenly couldn't move. They were frozen, trapped in some kind of spell. Serina walked around them slowly, tears streaming down her face. If I can't have you, no one can. I loved you. I would have given you everything. But you chose her. She raised a dagger made of pure darkness. I curse you, Serina whispered. I curse your souls to be separated for eternity. You will be reborn again and again, but you will never find each other. And if by some chance you do, I will make sure you're torn apart. Then she stabbed them both through the heart. The Demon King and Queen died in each other's arms, their blood mixing on the floor. The vision ended abruptly. Lyra gasped and stumbled back from the sphere, her hand leaving the crystal. The room returned to normal, the glow fading. She looked at Kael with wide eyes. He was breathing hard, clearly affected by the memories as well. It was real, Lyra whispered. We were together before. 500 years ago. Yes, Kael said quietly. I've been having dreams about it my whole life. Fragments of memories. When I saw you, I knew immediately who you were. My queen. My mate. The other half of my soul. But Serina cursed us. She said we would never find each other again. She tried. Kael's expression hardened. But the moon goddess is more powerful than any witch. She broke the curse, or at least weakened it enough for us to be reborn in the same time, in the same place. She gave us another chance. Lyra's mind was reeling. Serina, my stepmother. She's the same witch from 500 years ago. She must have found a way to become immortal. And when she discovered you were the reincarnation of the Demon Queen, she tried to kill you slowly. The poison, the torture, the suppression spell. She was trying to eliminate you before you could awaken your power and find me. And Ronan, Kael's jaw tightened. I don't think Ronan was ever your real fated mate. I think Serina created a false bond to keep you controlled, to make sure you stayed weak and submissive. But when the rejection broke that false bond, your true nature was able to emerge. Everything made sense now. The years of torture. Serina's hatred. The way Ronan had rejected her so easily. She's still out there, Lyra said. Serina. She's going to try again. Yes. And now we know who sent those assassins. Kael moved closer to her. But this time we're ready. This time we're together. And together, we're stronger than she could ever imagine. Lyra felt the truth of his words through the mate bond. In their past life, they had been separated and killed. But now they were united. Bonded. Aware of the threat. I remember loving you, Lyra said softly. Not the memories exactly, but the feeling. Like my soul recognized you the moment you touched me. I know. Kael cupped her face gently. I've been searching for you for 30 years. Every day, wondering if you existed, if I would ever find you. And then I saw you lying in that dirt, broken and dying, and everything in me screamed mine. The mate bond flared between them, hot and intense. Lyra found herself leaning closer to him, drawn by something deeper than physical attraction. This was soul deep. Ancient. Inevitable. Kael's thumb brushed across her lower lip. We don't have to rush this. I know you've been through trauma. I can wait until you're ready. But Lyra didn't want to wait. For the first time in her life, she wanted something for herself. Wanted to claim something that was hers. She closed the distance between them and pressed her lips to his. The kiss started gentle but quickly deepened. Kael's arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her against him. Through the mate bond, Lyra felt his desperate hunger, his need for her, but also his love. Pure, unconditional love that had survived 500 years of separation. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Lyra's demon wolf was purring contentedly inside her. Mine, she whispered, echoing his words from the day he claimed her. Yours, Kael agreed. Always. The moment was interrupted by a knock on the door. One of Kael's guards spoke from the other side. Your Majesty, the prisoner is becoming difficult. We need you in the dungeons. Kael sighed but didn't let go of Lyra. We should go. We need to find out what he knows. Wait. Lyra grabbed his arm. If Serina is immortal and has been planning this for 500 years, how do we stop her? Kael's eyes glowed gold. We kill her. Permanently this time. I don't care how immortal she thinks she is. Everything dies eventually. They made their way to the dungeons, their hands intertwined. The mate bond hummed between them, stronger now after the kiss. Lyra could feel Kael's determination, his protective fury. The dungeon was cold and damp, lit by flickering torches. Guards stood at attention as Kael and Lyra passed. They stopped in front of a heavy iron door. Inside, chained to the wall with silver, was one of the attackers. His mask had been removed, revealing a young man, maybe 25, with scared eyes. Kael entered the cell, and his presence filled the small space. Who sent you? The prisoner's eyes darted between Kael and Lyra. He pressed his lips together stubbornly. Kael sighed. I can do this the easy way or the hard way. The easy way, you tell me what I want to know and I make your death quick. The hard way, I let my mate question you. The prisoner looked confused until Lyra stepped forward. She let her demon wolf rise to the surface just enough that her eyes began to glow red. The man's face went pale with terror. I just tore apart 5 of your friends, Lyra said quietly. And I was hungry when I finished. So I'll ask you once. Who sent you to kill me? Lady Serina, the man blurted out immediately. Lady Serina and Lady Isolde. They paid us a fortune to kidnap you alive. They have some kind of ritual planned. They need your blood for it. Kael and Lyra exchanged glances. What kind of ritual? Kael demanded. I don't know. I swear. They just said if we brought the demon wolf to them alive, they would make us rich and powerful. The prisoner was crying now. Please, I didn't want to do it, but they said they'd kill my family if I refused. Where are they? Lyra asked. I don't know exactly. Somewhere in the Shadowlands, in the old ruins. That's where we were supposed to bring you. Kael nodded slowly. Then he looked at the guard. Give him a quick death. He cooperated. Wait, the prisoner called out as they turned to leave. There's something else. Lady Isolde, she's not human anymore. Lady Serina did something to her, gave her some kind of power. She's strong now, as strong as an alpha. Maybe stronger. Lyra's blood ran cold. Isolde, empowered by dark magic. That was a terrifying thought. They left the dungeons and returned to the main levels of the palace. Kael immediately called for his advisors and generals. Within an hour, the war room was filled with his most trusted people. We're going to war, Kael announced. Serina and Isolde have declared themselves our enemies. They tried to kidnap my mate. They tried to murder my queen. That cannot stand. One of the generals, an older man with gray hair, spoke up. Your Majesty, if this Serina is truly an immortal which is powerful as you say, we need to be strategic. A direct assault could cost thousands of lives. I'm aware. Kael looked at Lyra. But we have something they don't expect. A demon queen who has awakened her power. Together, we can face anything. The meeting continued for hours, planning strategy, discussing troop movements, preparing for battle. Through it all, Lyra sat beside Kael, listening and learning. This was her fight too. Serina had tortured her, tried to kill her, and had murdered her and Kael in their past life. This ended now. As the meeting finally concluded and people began to leave, Kael turned to Lyra. You should rest. Tomorrow will be difficult. I'm not tired. That was a lie. She was exhausted. But she was also terrified that if she closed her eyes, she would see those visions again. See herself and Kael dying. Kael saw through her immediately. Come with me. He led her back to her chambers and, surprisingly, followed her inside. I'll stay with you tonight. Just to sleep. You shouldn't be alone after everything that's happened. Lyra felt relief wash over her. She didn't want to be alone. They lay down on the massive bed together, still fully clothed. Kael pulled her against his chest, and the mate bond settled into something warm and comfortable. Tell me about our past life, Lyra murmured sleepily. What were we like? We were powerful, Kael said softly, his hand stroking her hair. But we were also happy. We loved each other completely. We trusted each other absolutely. Nothing could stand against us when we were together. And this time will be different. This time, we know what's coming. This time, love wins. Lyra closed her eyes, feeling safe for the first time in as long as she could remember. She had Kael in power. And somewhere out there, Serina was planning her next move. But Lyra wasn't the weak, tortured Omega anymore. Chapter 5. Lyra woke to the sound of screaming. She bolted upright in bed, her heart racing. Beside her, Kael was already on his feet, his eyes glowing gold in the darkness. The screaming was coming from somewhere in the palace, multiple voices, filled with terror and pain. "Stay here," Kael commanded, already moving toward the door. "No." Lyra was out of bed immediately. "We face this together." Through the mate bond, she felt his reluctance, but also his acceptance. He nodded once, and they ran into the corridor together. The palace was chaos. Guards were running everywhere, shouting orders. Servants were fleeing in panic. And through the windows, Lyra could see the sky had turned an unnatural red, like the entire world was bleeding. "What's happening?" Lyra shouted over the noise. A guard ran past them, his face pale with fear. "Blood demons, Your Majesty. Hundreds of them. They're everywhere." Kael grabbed the guard's arm. "Where's the main attack?" "The East Wing, but they're spreading fast. They're not trying to kill anyone, they're just hurting people. Driving everyone toward the center of the palace." That was wrong. An attack should be chaotic, disorganized. This sounded planned. Coordinated. "It's a trap," Lyra said, her demon wolf stirring restlessly inside her. "They're not here to destroy the palace. They're here for something specific." Kael's expression darkened. "You. They're here for you." Before Lyra could respond, the walls around them exploded. Stone and debris flew everywhere. Kael threw himself over Lyra, shielding her with his body as chunks of marble rained down. When the dust cleared, there was a massive hole in the wall, and through it poured creatures that made Lyra's blood run cold. Blood demons. They looked almost human but wrong. Their skin was gray and cracked like dried mud. Their eyes were completely black, and their mouths were filled with rows of sharp teeth. They moved with unnatural speed, crawling on the walls and ceiling like spiders. "Run!" Kael roared, already shifting into his demon form. But there were too many. They swarmed over him, dozens of them weighing him down. Kael fought viciously, tearing through them. But for every one he killed, 3 more appeared. Lyra shifted into her demon wolf and leaped into the fight. Her jaws closed around the neck of one demon, ripping its head clean off. Black blood sprayed across the floor. She spun and tore into another, then another. But they kept coming. Through the mate bond, Lyra felt Kael's frustration and fear. Not for himself. For her. Then she smelled it. A sickly sweet scent that made her demon wolf recoil in disgust. Dark magic. Strong dark magic. A figure emerged from the hole in the wall, stepping delicately over the rubble. She wore flowing black robes, and her red hair cascaded down her back like blood. Serina. But she looked different from the last time Lyra had seen her. Younger. More powerful. Dark energy crackled around her like lightning. "Hello, Lyra dear," Serina said with a cruel smile. "Did you really think you could escape me?" Lyra snarled, her demon wolf ready to attack. "Ah!" Serina raised one hand, and suddenly Lyra couldn't move. Her entire body locked up, frozen in place by invisible chains. She tried to shift back to human, tried to break free, but the magic was too strong. "Lyra!" Kael's roar shook the building. He threw off the demons covering him and charged toward Serina. Serina flicked her wrist almost lazily. Kael slammed into an invisible barrier and bounced back, hitting the ground hard. Now, Your Majesty," Serina purred. "Let's not make this more difficult than it needs to be. I'm only here for the girl. Cooperate, and I might let you live." "I'll tear you apart," Kael growled, getting back to his feet. His demon form was terrifying, massive and covered in black scales, but even he couldn't break through Serina's magic. "You tried that 500 years ago," Serina said. "It didn't work then either." More demons poured into the corridor, forming a wall between Kael and Lyra. Serina walked calmly to where Lyra stood frozen in her wolf form. "You've caused me so much trouble," Serina said conversationally, running one finger down Lyra's muzzle. Lyra wanted to bite that finger off, but she couldn't move. Years of careful planning, all disrupted because the Alpha King decided to play hero. "But it doesn't matter. You're exactly where I need you now." Serina pulled out a small vial filled with dark purple liquid and forced Lyra's jaws open. She poured the contents down Lyra's throat. The liquid burned like acid, and Lyra felt her demon wolf immediately start to weaken. "A paralysis poison," Serina explained. "You'll be conscious for everything that's about to happen, but you won't be able to fight back. Don't worry, dear. The pain will be exquisite." "No." Kael was fighting like a madman now, tearing through demons, desperate to reach Lyra. Serina chanted something in an ancient language, and a portal of swirling darkness opened behind her. "Goodbye, Your Majesty." I'll be sure to send you pieces of her when I'm done. She grabbed Lyra's fur and dragged her toward the portal. Kael was almost there, almost breaking through the horde of demons. But not fast enough. Serina and Lyra disappeared through the portal, just as Kael's claws swiped the air where they had been. His roar of rage and anguish echoed through the entire palace. Lyra felt the sensation of falling, tumbling through darkness. When it stopped, she hit cold stone hard enough to knock the breath from her lungs. The paralysis poison was still working. She couldn't move anything except her eyes. Slowly, painfully, she shifted back to human form. But the poison didn't care what form she was in. She lay naked on the freezing floor, completely helpless. "Welcome home, sister." Lyra's eyes moved to see Isolde standing over her. But Isolde looked different too. Her eyes had turned completely black, and dark veins crawled across her skin like spider webs. Whatever Serina had done to her, it had transformed her into something monstrous. They were in some kind of underground chamber. The walls were rough stone, covered in strange symbols that glowed with sickly green light. In the center of the room was a stone altar, and around it were channels carved into the floor for blood to flow. This was a ritual chamber, a place where dark magic was performed. Lyra's heart pounded with terror, but she couldn't even whimper. The poison had stolen her voice along with her movement. Serina entered the room, pulling off her cloak. "Bring her to the altar. Let's begin." Isolde grabbed Lyra's hair and dragged her across the rough stone floor. Every scrape hurt, but Lyra couldn't cry out. She was lifted and placed on the altar, her arms and legs positioned over the blood channels. Serina produced 4 silver spikes, each one engraved with dark runes. "You know, Lyra," Serina said conversationally as she positioned the first spike above Lyra's right wrist. "I've waited 500 years for this. 500 years of planning, of preparing, of making sure this time you wouldn't escape." She drove the spike through Lyra's wrist, pinning her to the altar. The pain was indescribable. White-hot agony exploded through Lyra's arm. The poison wouldn't let her scream, wouldn't let her thrash. She could only lie there and suffer. Serina moved to the left wrist. Another spike. More pain. "You took him from me," Serina continued, her voice taking on a bitter edge. "The Demon King. He was supposed to be mine. I loved him for decades, served him faithfully, gave him everything. But he only had eyes for you. His precious queen. Right ankle." The spike went through flesh and bone. Lyra's vision went white with pain. "So I killed you both. Cursed you. Made sure you would never find happiness again. Left ankle. The 4th spike. But somehow you found each other anyway. The moon goddess interfered, broke my curse." Serina stepped back, looking down at Lyra's pinned body with satisfaction. Blood was already flowing from the wounds, running down the channels in the floor. "But this time will be different," Serina said. "This time, I'm not just going to kill you. I'm going to take everything you are. Your demon wolf. Your power. Your very soul. And I'm going to give it all to my daughter." Isolde moved to stand beside the altar, excitement clear on her twisted features. "Once the ritual is complete," Serina continued, "Isolde will become the new demon queen. She'll have all your power, all your strength. And I'll use her to destroy Kael, to take his throne, to rule over everything." She pulled out a ceremonial knife, the blade black as night. "The ritual requires you to be alive and conscious for as long as possible. The more pain you feel, the more power I can extract. So I'm going to take my time. I'm going to make this last for days." Serina placed the tip of the knife against Lyra's chest, right over her heart. "Let's start with your demon wolf. Ripping a wolf from its host is incredibly painful. I know because I've done it before. Many times." The knife began to glow with dark energy. Serina started chanting in that ancient language again. The symbols on the walls pulsed brighter and brighter. Then the real torture began. Lyra felt something inside her being pulled, torn away from her soul. Her demon wolf howled in agony, fighting to stay connected. But Serina's magic was too strong. Inch by inch, the wolf was being ripped out. If Lyra could have screamed, she would have shattered the walls with the sound. The pain was beyond anything she had experienced, even beyond the rejection. This was her very essence being torn away. Time lost all meaning. There was only pain. Endless, infinite pain. Through the haze of agony, Lyra felt something else. The mate bond. It was still there, connecting her to Kael. And through it, she could feel his desperation, his fury, his absolute determination to find her. He was coming. She knew he was coming. But would he arrive in time? Serina worked for what felt like hours. Cutting, chanting, extracting. Lyra's blood filled the channels around the altar. So much blood, she should have been dead. But Serina's magic kept her alive, kept her conscious, kept her suffering. "It's almost time," Serina finally said, breathing hard from the exertion of maintaining so much dark magic. "Just a little more, and your wolf will be mine." She raised the knife high, preparing for the final cut that would sever the connection completely. Then the entire chamber shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. The walls cracked. The glowing symbols flickered. Serina's head snapped toward the entrance. "What?" The stone door to the chamber exploded inward. Through the opening came a figure wreathed in black flames. His eyes burned pure gold, so bright they were like miniature suns. Power radiated from him in visible waves. Kael had arrived. But he wasn't alone. Behind him poured hundreds of royal guards, all in fighting form. "Get away from her." Kael's voice was barely human, more demon than wolf. Serina's eyes widened. "Impossible. You couldn't have tracked us here." "My wards." "Your wards mean nothing." Kael took a step forward, and the ground cracked beneath his feet. "She's my mate. My queen. Did you really think any magic in existence could hide her from me?" He looked at Lyra on the altar, saw the spikes through her wrists and ankles, saw the blood, saw the agony in her eyes. Something in his expression shifted into pure, cold rage. "You're going to die today," Kael said quietly to Serina. "And I'm going to enjoy every second of it." Serina laughed, but there was fear in her eyes now. "You think you can kill me? I'm immortal. Everything dies eventually," Kael said. "You taught me that 500 years ago when you murdered us. Time to return the favor." He transformed fully into his demon form and charged. The battle that followed was catastrophic. Serina threw everything she had at Kael, every dark spell, every curse, every ounce of her 500 years of accumulated power. But Kael was beyond reason, beyond fear, beyond anything except the need to protect his mate. He fought like a force of nature, unstoppable and terrifying. Isolde tried to attack him from behind. One of Kael's guards intercepted her, and soon they were locked in their own brutal fight. Lyra could only watch, still paralyzed, still in agony. Blood continued to pour from her wounds. Her demon wolf was barely holding on, more out than in. She was dying. She could feel it. Even if Kael won, even if he killed Serina, it might be too late. The mate bond pulsed weakly between them. Through it, Lyra tried to send him one message. "I love you." She felt his response immediately, fierce and absolute. "I'm not losing you. Not again. Hold on." The battle raged on, destroying the chamber around them. And Lyra held on to consciousness by sheer force of will, her eyes fixed on Kael, her mate, her king, fighting to save her life. Chapter 6. Ronan sat in his office at the Silvercrest Pack house, staring at the bottle of whiskey on his desk. He had been staring at it for 3 hours now, unable to move, unable to think about anything except Lyra's face. Her empty eyes when she looked at him at the palace. The way she had said she didn't love him with such cold finality. The mark on her neck that proved she belonged to someone else now. To his brother. The door burst open without warning. Ronan didn't even look up. "Get out. Alpha, you need to see this." His beta, Marcus, sounded panicked. That was unusual. Marcus never panicked. Ronan finally raised his head. "What?" Marcus held out a piece of paper, his hand shaking slightly. "A messenger just delivered this. It's from Lady Serina." At the mention of that name, Ronan's blood went cold. He snatched the paper and read it. The words were simple and devastating. "I have the demon wolf. Come to the old ruins in the Shadowlands if you want to see what becomes of her. Bring no one. Come alone. This is your last chance to claim what should have been yours." Below the words was a drawing, crude but effective. It showed a woman on an altar, pinned with spikes, bleeding. "Lyra." Ronan was on his feet instantly. "When did this arrive?" 10 minutes ago. "Alpha, this is obviously a trap." "You can't. Get my horse ready. Now. Alpha Ronan, please." If Lady Serina has her, the Alpha King will already be mobilizing to rescue her. This isn't your fight anymore. Ronan grabbed Marcus by his shirt and slammed him against the wall. "She was my mate before she was his. I destroyed her, I rejected her, and now she's suffering because of choices I made. This is my fight." He released Marcus and started gathering weapons. Silver daggers, a sword, anything he could carry. His wolf was howling inside him, desperate and frantic. Lyra was in danger. Lyra was being tortured. And it was his fault. If he hadn't rejected her, if he hadn't been so stupid and proud, she would still be safe in his pack. Serina never would have been able to touch her because Ronan would have protected her properly. But he hadn't. He had thrown her away like garbage. And now she was paying the price. "I'm coming with you," Marcus said firmly. "You're not doing this alone." Ronan wanted to argue, but he knew Marcus was right. Going alone into the Shadowlands was suicide. "Fine. Get 3 of our best warriors. We leave in 5 minutes." As Marcus ran to gather fighters, Ronan looked out his window. He could see the pack house, the training grounds, the homes of his pack members. Everything he had worked for. Everything he had valued more than Lyra. What a fool he had been. 20 minutes later, Ronan and 5 warriors were riding hard toward the Shadowlands. The sun was setting, painting the sky blood red. An ominous sign. "Alpha," one of the warriors called out. "We're being followed." Ronan turned in his saddle and saw riders behind them. Many riders. At least 50. And they were gaining fast. "Ambush?" Marcus asked, already reaching for his weapon. But as the riders got closer, Ronan saw their banners. Black and gold. The royal colors. "It's the Alpha King's forces," Ronan said. The royal guards caught up quickly and surrounded them. The leader, a massive warrior with scars across his face, glared at Ronan. "Alpha Ronan of Silvercrest Pack," the warrior said coldly. "You're riding toward the ruins." "Why?" Ronan could lie. Should lie. But he was done with lies. "I received a message from Serina. She has Lyra. She's torturing her. I'm going to help." The warrior's expression didn't change. "The Alpha King is already en route with his full army. He doesn't need your help. Turn back." "No. That wasn't a request." Ronan urged his horse forward until he was directly in front of the warrior. "I rejected Lyra. I destroyed her. I stood by while she was tortured for years. And now she's suffering again because of my failures. So I'm going to that ruin, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to help save her. You can kill me here, or you can let me come with you. Your choice." The warrior stared at him for a long moment. Then he said, "If you get in the way, if you endanger the queen, I will personally remove your head from your shoulders." "Understood." "Understood." The warrior nodded once and turned his horse. "Follow, and try to keep up." They rode like demons toward the Shadowlands. As they traveled, other groups of royal forces joined them from different directions. By the time they reached the edge of the Shadowlands, there were over 300 warriors. But Kael himself was nowhere to be seen. "Where's the Alpha King?" Ronan asked the scarred warrior. "Already inside." He went ahead with a small strike force. He felt her pain through the mate bond and couldn't wait. The warrior's expression was grim. "We're the backup. Our job is to secure the area and handle any threats that try to escape." They entered the Shadowlands just as full darkness fell. The forest here was twisted and wrong. The trees grew at odd angles, their branches reaching toward the sky like skeletal fingers. The air smelled of rot and dark magic. "The ruins are another mile ahead," the warrior said. "Spread out. Kill anything that moves except for the king, the queen, or their allies." The forces split up, moving through the corrupted forest in organized groups. Ronan stayed with Marcus and his warriors, following the path toward the ruins. They could hear it before they saw it. The sound of battle. Massive explosions. Roars that shook the ground. The clash of metal and magic. Then they emerged into a clearing, and Ronan saw the ruins. It was an old temple, half collapsed and covered in dark vines. The stone was black and cracked. And from somewhere inside, light flashed in different colors as magic was unleashed. "Gods," Marcus whispered. "What kind of power is that?" Before Ronan could answer, the side of the temple exploded outward. Through the hole came tumbling a figure that slammed into the ground hard enough to create a crater. Isolde. But she wasn't the beautiful woman Ronan remembered. Dark veins covered her entire body. Her eyes were solid black. Her fingers had elongated into claws. Whatever humanity she'd had was gone. She climbed out of the crater and saw Ronan. A smile split her face, revealing too many teeth. "Ronan," she purred, her voice distorted and wrong. "Did you come to watch me become a queen? How thoughtful." "Isolde, what did Serina do to you?" "She made me powerful." Isolde raised her clawed hands, and dark energy crackled around them. "She gave me strength you could never imagine. And soon, I'll have the demon wolf's power too. I'll be unstoppable." "Where's Lyra?" Ronan demanded. "What are you doing to her?" Isolde laughed, the sound like breaking glass. "She's dying slowly and painfully. Mother is extracting her wolf as we speak. By dawn, there will be nothing left of your precious Lyra except an empty corpse. Something inside Ronan snapped. He shifted into his wolf form instantly and charged. Isolde met him head-on. They collided with tremendous force, rolling across the clearing in a tangle of fur and claws. She was strong, far stronger than any normal wolf. Her dark magic enhanced every movement, every strike. She raked her claws down Ronan's side, tearing through fur and flesh. He howled in pain but didn't let go, his jaws clamped on her shoulder. You chose me over her. Isolde screamed, throwing Ronan off. He hit a tree hard enough to crack the trunk. You said you loved me. I lied, Ronan growled, getting back to his feet. Blood poured from his wounds, but he ignored it. I never loved you. I was using you to hurt Lyra because I was too much of a coward to admit I was scared of the mate bond. Isolde's face twisted with rage. Then you're going to die screaming. She launched herself at him again. This time, Marcus and the other warriors joined the fight. 5 against 1 should have been easy, but Isolde's dark magic made her nearly invincible. She tore through them like paper, breaking bones, ripping flesh. One warrior went down, his throat torn out. Another was thrown so hard he didn't get back up. Ronan fought harder than he ever had in his life. This was his fault. All of it. Isolde becoming a monster, Lyra being tortured, everything traced back to his rejection. He had to make it right, even if it cost him everything. Inside the ruins, Kael was locked in combat with Serina. She was more powerful than he had anticipated. 500 years of dark magic had made her formidable. She threw curse after curse at him, each one designed to kill or maim. Kael dodged and blocked, his demon form taking hits that would have destroyed a normal wolf. But he was tiring, and Lyra was still on that altar, still bleeding, still dying. Through the mate bond, he could feel her life force fading. If he didn't end this soon, she would be gone. You can't win, Serina taunted, breathing hard. Even if you kill me, she's already too far gone. The ritual has taken too much. She'll die before you can save her. Then I'll die with her, Kael snarled. And I'll drag you to hell alongside us. He gathered all his power, every ounce of demon magic in his blood, and unleashed it in one massive attack. The blast of pure energy hit Serina directly. She screamed as it burned through her magical defenses, searing her flesh. The smell of burning meat filled the chamber. But she wasn't dead. Impossibly, she was still standing. Immortal, she gasped, her body already beginning to heal. I told you. You can't kill me. Kael's heart sank. She was right. He could hurt her, could wound her, but she would just keep healing. This fight could go on forever. And Lyra didn't have forever. He looked at his mate on the altar. Her eyes were barely open now. The paralysis poison was wearing off, which meant she could feel the full agony of what had been done to her. Through the bond, he felt her pain, felt her fading, and he felt something else. Her love. Even dying, tortured, broken, she was sending him love through the mate bond. I'm sorry, her thoughts whispered. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough. You are everything, Kael sent back fiercely. Don't you dare give up. I need you. I need you. Then suddenly, impossibly, he felt another presence through the bond. Someone else connected to Lyra, though more distantly. A false mate bond. Weak and damaged, but still there. Ronan. Outside, Ronan was losing his fight with Isolde. She had torn open his stomach, broken his front leg, crushed 3 of his ribs. He could barely stand. Marcus was unconscious. The other warriors were dead or dying. Isolde stood over him, panting, victorious. Any last words before I rip your throat out? Ronan looked up at the ruined temple. Somewhere inside, Lyra was dying, and he would never get the chance to tell her he was sorry. To tell her that rejecting her had been the biggest mistake of his life. To tell her that he had loved her all along, even when he was too stupid to admit it. I'm sorry, Lyra, he whispered. I'm so sorry. And then, through that damaged false bond, he felt something. A response. Lyra's voice weak as a breath in his mind. Help him. Help Kael. Please. Even dying, even after everything Ronan had done to her, she was asking him to save the man she truly loved. That was when Ronan understood what he had to do. He gathered the last of his strength and sent a message back through the bond. I will. I promise. And I'm sorry. For everything. Then he looked at Isolde and smiled through his bloody teeth. Last words? Yeah. Tell your mother she's next. Isolde's claws descended toward his throat. But Ronan was already moving. With speed born of desperation, he twisted aside and ran. Not away from the temple. Toward it. Isolde's scream of rage followed him. You can't escape. But Ronan wasn't trying to escape. He was running toward the one place he could still make a difference. He shifted back to human form as he ran, because a human could fit through smaller spaces. Blood poured from his wounds, leaving a trail behind him. He crashed through the hole in the temple wall and stumbled into the ritual chamber. The sight that greeted him nearly stopped his heart. Lyra on the altar, pinned with silver spikes, covered in blood. More blood than any person should be able to lose and still live. Her demon wolf was partially visible, a ghostly form being pulled out of her body by dark magic. And standing over her was Serina, chanting, her hands glowing with power. Across the chamber, Kael was on his knees, exhausted from fighting. His demon form was fading. He had nothing left. Neither of them had even noticed Ronan enter. Ronan looked around desperately. There had to be something, some way to help. His eyes landed on the ceremonial knife Serina had been using. It lay on the ground near the altar, forgotten in the heat of battle. The blade was still glowing with the dark magic used to extract Lyra's wolf. An idea formed. A terrible, final idea. Ronan grabbed the knife. "Hey!" he shouted at Serina. She turned, surprised to see him there. "What are you doing here, you fool?" "Saving her," Ronan said simply. Then he turned the knife on himself and drove it into his own chest, right over his heart. The pain was instant and absolute. But Ronan didn't scream. He closed his eyes and focused on the false bond, the damaged connection between him and Lyra. The knife was designed to extract wolf essence. It was pulling at his wolf, trying to rip it out. Ronan let it. But instead of letting the essence dissipate or go to Serina, he forced it through the false bond. Pushed it toward Lyra with every ounce of will he had left. "No!" Serina screamed, realizing what he was doing. "Stop!" But it was too late. Ronan's wolf essence flowed through the bond and into Lyra. It wasn't a perfect match. It wasn't true mate energy. But it was life force. Raw, powerful life force. And it was enough. On the altar, Lyra's eyes snapped open fully. Color returned to her face. Her demon wolf, which had been almost completely extracted, suddenly snapped back into her body with tremendous force. The backlash of magic exploded outward. Serina was thrown across the chamber, slamming into the wall hard enough to crack stone. The ritual circle shattered. The symbols on the walls went dark. Kael felt the surge of power through the mate bond, and it reinvigorated him instantly. His demon form blazed back to full strength. Ronan collapsed to his knees, the knife still embedded in his chest. His wolf was gone, transferred to Lyra. He could feel the emptiness inside where it used to be. He was dying. Fast. But he was smiling. Because Lyra was going to live. Chapter even Lyra gasped as Ronan's wolf essence flooded into her body. It felt wrong, foreign, like wearing clothes that didn't fit. But it was life. Pure, raw life that pushed back the darkness trying to consume her. Her demon wolf roared back to full strength, furious at having been nearly ripped away. The silver spikes pinning her to the altar began to glow red hot as her body temperature spiked with returning power. "Impossible," Serina hissed from where she had crashed into the wall. Blood ran from her mouth, but she was already healing. "That should have killed you both." Lyra's eyes, now burning bright red, fixed on Serina. Through the pain, through the rage, one thought burned clear in her mind. This woman had tortured her for years. Had murdered her and Kael in their past life. Had tried to steal everything from her. No more. With a roar that shook the chamber, Lyra's demon wolf exploded with power. The silver spikes shattered, unable to contain her anymore. She rolled off the altar and hit the ground in a crouch, her body shifting fluidly into her massive black wolf form. Kael was at her side instantly. Through the mate bond, she felt his relief, his pride, his absolute love. Together, the bond pulsed between them. But Lyra also felt something else. Something weaker. She turned her massive head and saw Ronan collapsed on the floor, the ceremonial knife still in his chest. His eyes were glassy, unfocused. He was dying. He had saved her. The man who had destroyed her had just given up his wolf, his life, to save her. Touching, Serina spat, getting to her feet. Dark energy crackled around her hands. But it changes nothing. I am immortal. I have studied dark magic for 500 years. You cannot kill me. She raised her hands and the entire temple began to shake. The walls cracked. The ceiling started to collapse. Serina was channeling so much power that the structure couldn't withstand it. "If I cannot have victory," Serina screamed, "then everyone dies." She was going to bring the whole temple down on top of them. Kael shifted back to human form. Lyra, we need to get out of here. But Lyra wasn't looking at the crumbling temple. She was looking at Ronan. If they ran, he would die here, crushed under tons of stone. The man had rejected her, humiliated her, stood by while she was tortured. He deserved to die alone. But he had also just sacrificed everything to save her. Lyra made her choice. She shifted back to human form, ran to Ronan and grabbed his arm. Kael, help me. Kael didn't question, didn't hesitate. He grabbed Ronan's other arm, and together they dragged him toward the exit even as the ceiling came down around them. You fools! Serina shrieked. You're saving the man who betrayed you? A massive chunk of stone fell between them and Serina, cutting off her view. But her voice still echoed through the collapsing temple. I will find you again. I will always find you. You can never escape me. They burst out of the temple just as the entire structure collapsed inward with a deafening roar. Dust and debris exploded outward, and Kael threw himself over both Lyra and Ronan, shielding them with his body. When the dust settled, the temple was nothing but a pile of rubble. And somewhere beneath it, Serina was trapped. But Lyra knew it wasn't over. Serina was immortal. She would survive, would dig her way out eventually, unless they found a way to kill her permanently. Alpha King, the scarred warrior from earlier, ran up with a group of royal guards. His eyes widened when he saw Lyra covered in blood. Your Majesty, are you? I'm fine, Lyra said, though she was anything but. Her body was covered in wounds from the spikes, from the ritual. But she was alive. Serina is under there. We need to make sure she stays dead this time. The warrior nodded. We'll post guards. If she tries to emerge, we'll be ready. No, Kael said quietly. His eyes were glowing gold as he stared at the rubble. Guards won't be enough. We need to end this now. He stood and walked toward the collapsed temple. Lyra tried to follow, but her legs gave out. She was too weak, had lost too much blood. Marcus appeared, limping badly but alive. He immediately knelt beside Ronan. Alpha, can you hear me? Ronan's eyes fluttered open. He looked at Lyra, and something like peace crossed his face. You're alive. Good. You gave me your wolf, Lyra whispered. Why? Because you deserve to live. Ronan coughed and blood spilled from his lips. And I deserve to die. Fair trade. You're not going to die, Marcus said desperately. We'll get healers, It's too late. Ronan's voice was fading. My wolf is gone. I'm just human now. And the knife wound, it's too deep. He was right. Lyra could smell it. The scent of approaching death. Without his wolf, Ronan couldn't heal from a wound like that. I'm sorry, Ronan said, looking at Lyra. For everything. For the rejection. For not protecting you. For being too stupid and proud to see what was right in front of me. Lyra felt tears on her cheeks. She was crying for him. For the man he could have been. For the mate bond that had been a lie, but had still connected them once. I forgive you, she said softly. Ronan smiled, and for a moment he looked like the boy she had fallen in love with years ago. Before the pride, before the cruelty. Just Ronan. Thank you, he whispered. Take care of my brother. He's a better man than I ever was. Then his eyes closed, and his chest stopped moving. Marcus let out a broken sob. He had served Ronan for years, had been his friend. And now his alpha was gone. Lyra reached out and gently closed Ronan's eyes. He died with honor in the end. That's something. A massive boom shook the ground. They all turned to see Kael standing before the rubble, his hands raised, channeling enormous amounts of power. What's he doing? The scarred warrior asked. Lyra felt it through the mate bond. Kael's intention. His plan. He's going to burn it all, she said. With demon fire. Nothing survives demon fire. Not even immortals. Black flames began to pour from Kael's hands. Flames so hot they turned the very air around them to steam. The flames spread across the rubble, seeping into every crack, every crevice. And from deep within the ruins, they heard Serina scream. No, no, you can't. I'm immortal. I can't die. But the demon fire didn't care about her immortality. It burned magic itself, consumed it, destroyed it at the fundamental level. Serina's screams grew higher and more desperate. Then they turned to shrieks of pure agony. Curse you, her voice echoed from the flames. Curse you both. May you suffer as I have suffered. May you lose everything as I have lost everything. The flames burned hotter, brighter. The rubble began to melt, stone turning to liquid under the impossible heat. Serina's final scream was cut off abruptly. Then there was only the roar of flames. Kael stood there for long minutes, maintaining the fire, making absolutely sure nothing could survive. When he finally let the flames die, all that remained was a smoking crater of melted stone and ash. Serina was gone. Truly, permanently gone. Kael stumbled, exhausted from channeling so much power. The scarred warrior caught him before he fell. "It's done," Kael said hoarsely. "She's dead. It's finally over." He looked at Lyra across the clearing. Their eyes met, and the mate bond pulsed with relief, with love, with the knowledge that they had survived. But as Lyra tried to stand, tried to walk toward him, the world tilted sideways. She had been tortured for hours, had lost massive amounts of blood. Her body had been pushed far beyond its limits. She collapsed and darkness took her. The next time Lyra woke, she was back in the palace. In her room. In the massive, comfortable bed. But something was different. She could feel Kael. Not just through the mate bond, but deeper. She could feel his heartbeat as if it were her own. Could sense his thoughts, his emotions, everything. She sat up slowly and saw him sitting in the chair beside the bed, exactly as he had been weeks ago when she first woke here. "What happened?" she asked. Her voice was rough. "You nearly died," Kael said quietly. "The ritual, the torture, the blood loss. Even with Ronan's wolf essence, you were fading. The healers said there was nothing they could do. But I'm alive. Because I performed a soul merge." Kael's golden eyes met hers. "It's forbidden magic. Ancient. It binds two souls together permanently. If one dies, both die. You can't exist separately anymore. Lyra processed this. You tied your life to mine. Even though it means if I die, you die too." "Yes. That was incredibly stupid. Probably." A small smile touched his lips. "But I wasn't going to lose you. Not after everything we've been through. Not after 500 years of searching for you." Lyra felt the truth of the bond now. They were connected on every level. Soul deep. Permanent. Forever. "I can feel everything you feel," she said softly. "Your emotions. Your thoughts if I focus. And I can feel yours." Kael moved from the chair to sit on the edge of the bed. "Are you angry? That I made this choice without asking you?" Lyra thought about it. She should be angry. This was a massive decision that he'd made while she was unconscious. They could never be apart now. If something happened to one of them, both would die. But all she felt was relief. And love. So much love it threatened to overwhelm her. "No," she said finally. "I'm not angry. Because I would have done the same thing if our positions were reversed." Kael's smile grew wider. He reached out and cupped her face gently. "We're bound now. Forever. In this life and whatever comes after. There's no escape." "Good," Lyra said, leaning into his touch. "I don't want to escape." They kissed, soft and gentle at first, then deeper. The mate bond and the soul bond combined made every touch electric, every sensation shared between them. When they finally pulled apart, Lyra asked, "How long was I unconscious?" 3 days. "And Serina?" "Dead. Completely destroyed. I burned her down to atoms. She's not coming back this time." "What about Isolde?" Kael's expression darkened. "She escaped during the chaos. But she's weakened without Serina's magic supporting her. We'll find her eventually." Lyra nodded. "That was a problem for another day." "And Ronan?" "We held a funeral. He was buried with full honors despite his crimes. Because in the end, he made the right choice." Kael paused. "He saved you. I can never repay that debt." "He gave his life," Lyra said softly. "I think that repays all debts." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Lyra said, "So what happens now?" "Now?" Kael smiled. "Now we heal. We rebuild. And then we get married properly, with a ceremony witnessed by all the kingdoms. I want everyone to know you're my queen. I'd like that. But first, you need to rest more. You're still recovering." "I don't want to rest." Lyra looked at him seriously. "I've spent my whole life being weak, being helpless, being a victim. I'm done with that. I want to train. I want to learn to use my demon wolf properly. I want to be strong enough that no one can ever hurt me again." Kael's eyes gleamed with pride and approval. "Then that's what we'll do. Together." "Together," Lyra agreed. Over the next weeks, Lyra threw herself into training. Every morning, she worked with Kael and his best warriors, learning to fight in both human and wolf form. Her demon wolf was powerful but wild, and she had to learn control. She trained until her muscles screamed, until she collapsed from exhaustion. But every day she got stronger. Faster. More confident. The scars from her torture faded slowly, helped by the royal healer's magic. But some scars, the ones on her soul, would take longer to heal. She still had nightmares sometimes. Dreams where she was back on that altar, pinned and helpless, feeling her wolf being ripped away. She would wake screaming, and Kael would be there immediately, holding her, reminding her she was safe. The soul bond helped. Through it, she could feel his calm, his strength, his unwavering love. It anchored her when the darkness tried to pull her under. 1 month after the battle in the Shadowlands, Kael called her to the throne room. When Lyra entered, she found it filled with alphas and lunas from packs all across the kingdom. Hundreds of them, all dressed in their finest clothing. Kael stood at the front in black and gold ceremonial robes. When he saw her, his face lit up with a smile that made her heart race. "Lyra," he said, his voice carrying through the massive room. "Come here." She walked forward, suddenly nervous. All these powerful people were watching her, judging her. But when she reached Kael and he took her hand, all the nervousness faded. Because she wasn't alone. She would never be alone again. "We are gathered here today," Kael announced, "to witness the coronation of my mate, my queen, the demon wolf herself. Lyra, who was rejected and thrown away, who survived torture and betrayal, who faced death and came back stronger. She is worthy of standing beside me. She is worthy of ruling this kingdom." He turned to her and held out a crown. It was beautiful, made of black metal with red gems that glowed like her demon wolf's eyes. "Do you accept this crown?" Kael asked formally. "Do you accept the responsibility of being queen, of protecting this kingdom and its people?" Lyra looked at the crown, then at Kael, then at all the people watching. 6 months ago, she had been an Omega. Weak, tortured, considered worthless. Now she was about to become a queen. "I accept," she said clearly. Kael placed the crown on her head, and the room erupted in cheers. The celebration lasted for hours. Pack after pack came forward to pledge their loyalty to their new queen. Some were genuine, others Lyra could tell were just going through the motions. But it didn't matter. She would prove herself through her actions, not through their initial opinions. Late that night, after all the guests had left, Lyra and Kael stood on the balcony of their chambers, looking out at the kingdom spread below them. "Are you happy?" Kael asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Lyra leaned back against him, feeling safe and loved and powerful. "Yes. For the first time in my life, I'm actually happy." "Good." He kissed the top of her head. "You deserve happiness. You deserve everything." Lyra smiled. She thought about everything she had survived. The years of torture. The rejection. The near death. The battle with Serina. All of it had led to this moment. To being here, in the arms of a man who loved her completely. To being powerful. To being free. "Thank you," she said softly. "For what?" "For saving me. For seeing me when everyone else looked away. For making me yours." "Lyra." Kael turned her around to face him, his golden eyes intense. "You saved yourself. I just gave you the opportunity. Everything you've become, that's all you." She kissed him with love. Chapter 8. 3 months passed in peace. 3 months of Lyra learning to be a queen, training with her demon wolf, and falling deeper in love with Kael every single day. The soul bond between them grew stronger. Sometimes Lyra would know what Kael was thinking before he said it. Sometimes she would feel phantom sensations of whatever he was touching. They were becoming one being in 2 bodies, exactly as the ancient magic intended. But lately Lyra had noticed something wrong. Kael was having nightmares. She would wake in the middle of the night to find him thrashing, his demon form flickering in and out, his eyes glowing so bright they lit up the entire room. He would be muttering in the ancient demon language, words she didn't understand. And through the soul bond, she could feel something dark growing inside him. Something hungry and violent that wasn't entirely him. Every time she asked about it, he would smile and say he was fine. But Lyra knew he was lying. One morning, she woke to find his side of the bed empty. She reached through the soul bond and felt him on the training grounds, fighting alone. She dressed quickly and went to find him. The training ground was destroyed. Weapons lay broken everywhere. Training dummies were torn to shreds. And in the center of it all stood Kael in his demon form, breathing heavily, his eyes burning with that too bright gold. "Kael!" Lyra called out softly. He spun toward her, and for a moment his eyes didn't recognize her. For a moment, he looked at her like prey. Then awareness returned, and he shifted back to human form immediately. "Lyra, I didn't hear you approach. What's going on?" She walked closer, noting the way his hands were shaking. "And don't say nothing. I can feel it through the bond. Something is wrong." Kael was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed and sat down heavily on the ground. I was hoping I could hide it from you a little longer. Give us more time. Lyra's heart clenched with fear. Hide what? My demon side is consuming me. Kael's voice was hollow. It's been happening slowly for years, but the soul merge accelerated it. In 6 months, maybe less, I'll transform completely into a full demon. I'll lose my humanity, my wolf side, everything that makes me who I am. I'll become a mindless monster that only knows hunger and violence. Lyra felt like the ground had opened beneath her feet. No, there has to be a way to stop it. There isn't. Kael looked at her, and his eyes were full of pain. I've consulted every healer, every magic user in the kingdom. The only way to stop the transformation is death. Then we'll find another way, Lyra said desperately. There's always another way. Lyra. Kael stood and took her hands. If I become a full demon, I'll be too dangerous to let live. I'll kill indiscriminately. I won't recognize you. I'll destroy everything we've built. You'll have to kill me before that happens. I can't. Tears streamed down Lyra's face. The soul bond means if you die, I die. We're connected. I can't kill you without killing myself. I know. That's why I'm asking you to find a way to break the bond before it's too late. Lyra pulled away from him, shaking her head. No, absolutely not. We'll find another solution. We'll search harder, consult more experts. There has to be something. Before Kael could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the palace. They ran to the walls and looked out. Lyra's blood turned to ice. An army approached the palace. Thousands strong. But these weren't normal soldiers. They were corrupted creatures, twisted by dark magic. Wolves with extra limbs, humans with demon features, things that shouldn't exist. And leading them, riding a massive corrupted wolf, was Isolde. She looked even more monstrous than before. The dark veins covered her entire body now. Her eyes glowed red. Horns had sprouted from her head. She had become something between demon and wolf, and witch, a horrible hybrid creature. Kael. Isolde's voice carried across the distance, magically amplified. Come out and face me, or I'll tear apart every single person in your kingdom. How does she have an army? Lyra asked. Where did all these creatures come from? She must have found Serina's old laboratories, Kael said grimly. Places where the witch experimented on wolves and humans, trying to create the perfect soldiers. These things were locked away for centuries. And now Isolde has freed them all. Yes. Kael turned to his guards. Sound the alarm. Gather every warrior. We're going to war. Within an hour, the royal forces were assembled. Over 2,000 warriors, all armed and ready. It wasn't enough to match Isolde's numbers, but they were better trained and more disciplined. Kael stood at the front in his full demon form, massive and terrifying. Lyra stood beside him in her demon wolf form, just as large and just as dangerous. Through the soul bond, she felt Kael's fear. Not for himself. For her. For their people. We fight together, she sent through the bond. Like always. Together, he agreed. Until the end. The armies charged. The battle was brutal and chaotic. Corrupted creatures crashed into the royal forces like a wave. Blood sprayed across the ground. Screams filled the air. Lyra fought with everything she had. Her demon wolf tore through enemies, ripping and clawing. She was faster and stronger than anything Isolde's army had, a whirlwind of black fur and red eyes. Beside her, Kael was unstoppable. His demon form crushed enemies, his claws tore through armor like paper. Together, they carved a path through the army. But there were so many. For every creature they killed, 2 more appeared. And through it all, Isolde watched from a hill, laughing. Is this the best you can do? She taunted. The mighty Alpha King and his demon queen? You're weak. Kael roared and charged toward her. Lyra followed, the two of them moving in perfect sync through the soul bond. They reached Isolde's position and attacked as one. But Isolde was ready. She had dark magic coursing through her, making her incredibly powerful. The 3 of them clashed in a battle that shook the ground. Isolde was fast and vicious, her corrupted body able to take massive amounts of damage and keep fighting. You took everything from me. Isolde screamed as she raked her claws across Kael's side. Ronan loved me. He was mine. But then She came along and ruined it all. Ronan never loved you, Lyra snarled, her jaws snapping closed inches from Isolde's throat. He was using you. We both were being used. Can't you see that? Serina manipulated all of us. Liar. Isolde's fist connected with Lyra's head so hard she saw stars. You're just trying to confuse me. But I know the truth. You stole my mate, and now I'm going to make you watch while I kill everyone you love." The battle raged for hours. The sun began to set, painting the battlefield red. Bodies littered the ground on both sides. The royal forces were losing. They were outnumbered and exhausted. Kael was slowing down. Lyra could feel it through the soul bond. The demon transformation was progressing faster because of the stress of battle. He was losing control. His attacks were becoming more savage, less strategic. The intelligence was fading from his eyes. "No," Lyra sent desperately through the bond. "Stay with me. Don't let it take you." But Kael's response was garbled, more growl than words. He was slipping away. Isolde noticed. She laughed triumphantly. "Oh, this is perfect. The mighty Alpha King is losing himself. Soon you'll have a mindless demon on your hands." "What will you do then, Lyra?" "Watch him destroy everything." Lyra's heart broke. Isolde was right. If Kael transformed completely now, in the middle of this battle, he would kill everyone, friend and foe alike. She had to make a choice. End this battle now, or lose Kael forever. Through the soul bond, she felt something. A presence. The same presence she had felt that day in the Memory Stone chamber. The moon goddess. A voice whispered in her mind, ancient and powerful. "There is a way, but it will cost you everything." "Tell me," Lyra sent back desperately. "Release your demon wolf completely. Let her merge with Kael's demon form. 2 demons becoming one. You will share one body, one mind. You will cease to exist as separate beings. That would mean losing herself entirely, becoming nothing more than part of a whole. No more Lyra. No more individual thoughts or dreams or identity. But Kael would be saved, and the kingdom would be saved." Lyra looked at Kael, watched him struggling to hold on to his humanity, watched the demon consuming him from the inside. She loved him more than life itself, more than her own existence. The choice was easy. She reached deep inside herself, found the core of her demon wolf, and prepared to let it go. But before she could, something impossible happened. The sky split open. A rift appeared above the battlefield, crackling with divine energy, and through it stepped a figure wreathed in silver light. The moon goddess herself had descended to the mortal realm. Every creature on the battlefield froze. Friend and foe alike dropped to their knees in the presence of divinity. The goddess looked exactly as she had in Lyra's vision. Massive, beautiful, terrifying. Her eyes held the weight of eternity. "Enough!" Her voice rang out, shaking the very earth. "I have watched this cycle of pain and death for long enough. It ends today." She raised one hand, and Isolde was lifted into the air, screaming. "You, who have taken dark magic into your soul, who have corrupted yourself beyond redemption," the goddess said. "You are beyond saving." "No!" Isolde shrieked. "Please. I didn't mean to. It was Serina. She made me do it. You made your own choices. And now you face the consequences." The goddess closed her hand into a fist, and Isolde's body began to glow. Brighter and brighter until it was painful to look at. Then she simply dissolved, turned to particles of light that scattered on the wind. Isolde was gone, completely and permanently erased from existence. The corrupted army, without their leader and faced with a literal goddess, turned and fled into the wilderness. The goddess descended until she stood before Kael and Lyra. Up close, her power was overwhelming. Lyra felt like she might be crushed under the weight of it. "My children," the goddess said softly, "you have suffered so much. Across lifetimes, you have been torn apart, murdered, cursed. And yet your love has endured. That kind of love is rare. Precious." She reached out and touched Kael's head. "The demon transformation is a curse, not a natural process. A spell placed on your bloodline generations ago by those who feared demon wolves. I can remove it." Golden light poured from her hand into Kael. He gasped, his body convulsing. The red glow faded from his eyes. The savage hunger Lyra had felt through the bond disappeared. When the light faded, Kael collapsed to his knees, breathing hard. But he was himself again. Fully himself. The demon was still there, but controlled. Balanced. "You won't transform," the goddess said. "The curse is broken. You can live in peace." Tears streamed down Lyra's face. "Thank you. Thank you so much. Your love saved him," the goddess said. "You were willing to sacrifice yourself completely. That selflessness, that pure love, is what broke the curse. I merely finished what your love began." She looked at both of them, a small smile on her divine face. "You were meant to be together. Across every lifetime, in every realm, you will find each other. That is my blessing to you." Then the goddess rose into the air. The rift began to close. Live well, my children. Love well, and know that you have earned your happiness. The rift closed, and the goddess was gone. Silence fell over the battlefield. Then slowly, the royal forces began to cheer. They had won. The enemy was defeated. The king was saved. Kael shifted back to human form and pulled Lyra into his arms. Through the soul bond, she felt his relief, his joy, his overwhelming love. We made it, he whispered. We actually made it. Together, Lyra said, repeating the word that had become their promise. Always together. They held each other as the sun set on the battlefield, as their warriors celebrated around them, as the kingdom began to heal. The worst was over. Or so they thought. Chapter 9. 6 months passed after the battle with Isolde. 6 months of peace and rebuilding. The corrupted creatures that had escaped into the wilderness were hunted down one by one. The damaged parts of the kingdom were repaired. Life slowly returned to normal. Lyra settled fully into her role as queen. She held court, made decisions, learned the politics of ruling. The packs that had initially doubted her came to respect her strength and wisdom. And every night, she fell asleep in Kael's arms, safe and loved. The nightmares grew less frequent. The scars on her soul began to heal. For the first time in her life, Lyra felt truly happy. But something was wrong. It started small. Lyra would catch Kael staring into the distance with a troubled expression. He would disappear for hours without explanation. And through the soul bond, she felt him blocking certain thoughts from her, keeping secrets. One night, Lyra woke to find him gone again. She reached through the soul bond and felt him somewhere deep in the palace, in a place she didn't recognize. She got dressed and followed the bond through dark corridors, downstairs she had never noticed before. The palace was enormous, with sections that had been sealed off for centuries. Finally, she found a door hidden behind a tapestry. It was unlocked. She pushed it open and descended another staircase into what looked like ancient catacombs. Torches lit automatically as she passed, revealing walls covered in old paintings and symbols. And at the end of the passage was a large chamber. Kael stood in the center of it, surrounded by books and scrolls. But he wasn't alone. A woman stood with him. She was beautiful, with long silver hair and eyes that glowed faintly blue. She wore robes that marked her as some kind of priestess or magic user. Lyra's demon wolf growled in her chest. Who is this woman? And why was Kael meeting with her in secret? Kael! Lyra's voice echoed through the chamber. Both Kael and the woman turned. Kael's face went pale. Lyra, you shouldn't be here. Clearly. Lyra walked forward, her eyes never leaving the silver-haired woman. Who is this? My name is Morgana, the woman said, her voice musical. I'm a seer. I've been advising the Alpha King on matters of prophecy. Prophecy? Lyra looked at Kael. What prophecy? Why didn't you tell me? Kael ran a hand through his hair, clearly struggling. Because I didn't want to worry you. And I thought maybe, if we were careful enough, we could avoid it. Avoid what? Kael and Morgana exchanged glances. Finally, Morgana spoke. 3 months ago, I had a vision. A prophecy about you, Queen Lyra. About your future. Lyra's heart began to pound. Tell me. The prophecy says that you carry within you the power to reshape the entire realm. Not just the wolf territories, but the demon realm, the human lands, everything. You are the key to either eternal peace or complete destruction. I don't understand. Morgana moved closer. Your demon wolf isn't just any demon wolf. She's the reincarnation of the first demon queen, the one who existed before even the gods. The one who created the balance between light and dark, life and death. That power has been dormant inside you, but it's waking up. Lyra felt cold. What does that mean? It means, Kael said quietly, that in 6 months, on the night of the blood moon, your power will fully awaken. And when it does, you'll have to make a choice. Use that power to create a new world where wolves, demons, and humans live in perfect harmony. Or use it to destroy everything and return the world to primordial chaos. That's insane, Lyra said. I would never choose destruction. Not consciously, Morgana said gently. But the prophecy says the power itself is chaotic. When it awakens, it will try to consume you. It will show you every pain you've ever suffered, every betrayal, every moment of darkness. And if you can't withstand it, if you give in to the rage and grief, the power will choose destruction. Lyra stumbled back. This couldn't be real. So I'm what? A bomb waiting to go off? No. Kael was at her side immediately. You're the woman I love. The strongest person I've ever known. And I believe in you. I know you'll make the right choice. Then why didn't you tell me? Lyra's voice cracked. Why hide this from me? Because I was scared, Kael admitted. Scared that knowing would make it worse. Scared that the pressure would break you. I just wanted to give you a few more months of peace before I have to decide the fate of the world? Lyra laughed bitterly. That's not something you can prepare for, Kael. Through the soul bond, she felt his guilt, his fear, his desperate love. He had been trying to protect her in his own way. But the betrayal still stung. There's more, Morgana said reluctantly. The prophecy also says that someone close to you will try to stop the awakening. Someone who believes you'll choose destruction. They will attempt to kill you before the blood moon, thinking they're saving the world. Who? Kael's voice was sharp. Who tries to kill her? The prophecy doesn't say. Only that the betrayal will come from someone you trust completely. Lyra looked around the chamber at the books and scrolls. How long have you known about this? 3 months, Kael said. I've been researching constantly, trying to find a way to prevent the awakening or to make sure you're strong enough to withstand it. And you found nothing. Nothing definitive. But I won't give up. There has to be a way. Lyra felt numb. In 6 months, she would either save the world or destroy it. And someone she trusted would try to murder her before then. I need air, she said, turning toward the exit. Lyra, wait. Don't. She held up a hand. I need time to process this. Alone. She left the chamber and made her way back to the surface. The palace was still dark, the hour late. She walked out into the gardens, breathing in the cool night air. The mate bond pulsed with Kael's worry, his desire to follow her. But he stayed away, giving her the space she asked for. Lyra looked up at the stars and felt a scream building in her chest. Why couldn't she just be happy? Why did there always have to be something else, some new threat, some new nightmare? You look troubled, Your Majesty. Lyra spun to find a figure standing in the shadows. A man stepped into the moonlight, and her demon wolf immediately went on alert. He was tall and handsome, with dark hair and eyes that glowed faintly red. He wore expensive clothing, but nothing that marked him as nobility. She had never seen him before. Who are you? Lyra demanded. How did you get past the guards? Forgive the intrusion. The man bowed slightly. My name is Lucian. I'm an emissary from the demon realm. I've been trying to arrange a meeting with you for weeks, but your husband has been protective. Kael knows you're here? No. He's rejected every request for contact with my people. But I had to speak with you directly. It's urgent. Lyra's hand moved toward the knife she kept strapped to her thigh. Speak quickly. The prophecy about your awakening, Lucian said. We know about it. The entire demon realm knows. And they're terrified. Why? Because the last time a being with your level of power awakened, it destroyed half of the demon realm. Millions died. It took centuries to rebuild. Lucian's expression was grave. The Demon Council has sent me to make you an offer. Come with me to the demon realm before the awakening. We have ancient rituals that might be able to contain the power, to make sure you don't lose control. Or you want to lock me up where I can't hurt anyone if I fail. That too, Lucian admitted. But isn't that better than risking the lives of everyone in this realm? Lyra studied him. Through the soul bond, she could feel Kael's sudden spike of alarm. He had sensed her distress, was already running toward her location. I'll think about your offer, Lyra said. But right now you need to leave. My husband is coming, and if he finds you here, he'll tear you apart. Lucian smiled slightly. He really does love you. That's rare among demons. Most of us are incapable of such emotion. He bowed again. I'll be staying at the Red Moon Inn in the city. Send word if you decide to accept our help. He melted back into the shadows just as Kael burst into the garden. Lyra, I felt your fear. What happened? Nothing, Lyra said quickly. Just processing everything. But through the soul bond, Kael felt her lie. His eyes narrowed. What aren't you telling me? Before Lyra could answer, an explosion rocked the palace. They both turned to see flames erupting from the east wing. Screams echoed through the night. Guards were running everywhere. We're under attack, someone shouted. But this time there was no army. No corrupted creatures. Just chaos and fire. Kael and Lyra raced toward the flames. The royal guards were already trying to put out the fire, but it spread with unnatural speed. It's demon fire, Kael said grimly. Someone with demon magic did this. They worked for hours to contain the blaze, evacuating everyone from the affected areas. By the time the sun rose, the fire was out, but an entire section of the palace was destroyed. And in the ashes they found something. A body. One of Kael's most trusted advisors, a man named Lord Cedric, lay dead in the ruins. But he hadn't died from the fire. His throat had been cut. Murder, Kael said, his voice cold. Someone killed him and then set the fire to cover it up. The guards searched the area and found evidence. A ritual circle drawn in blood. Symbols of dark magic. And a message carved into the floor. The demon queen must die before the blood moon. Lyra's blood ran cold. The prophecy was coming true. Someone was already trying to kill her. Double the guards, Kael ordered. No one gets near the queen without my permission. And find out who did this. Over the next weeks, 3 more attempts were made on Lyra's life. Poisoned food. An assassin in the night. A magical trap in the throne room. Each time, Lyra survived only because of her demon wolf's instincts or Kael's protection. But it was clear someone inside the palace was trying to kill her. Someone she trusted. Kael became paranoid, trusting no one. He tasted Lyra's food himself. He insisted on being with her at all times. The soul bond was constantly active, him monitoring her emotions, her safety. It was suffocating. You can't protect me forever, Lyra said one night. We need to find whoever is doing this. I know. Kael looked exhausted. But how? It could be anyone. A servant, a guard, even one of my generals. Lyra thought about Lucien's offer. The demon realm. Maybe going there really was the safest option. At least until they figured out who the traitor was. I need to tell you something, she said. The night of the fire, before the attack, I met someone. She told him about Lucien and the offer to go to the demon realm. Kael's expression turned thunderous. Absolutely not. The demon council can't be trusted. They'll lock you away and throw away the key. Maybe that's what needs to happen. If I'm too dangerous. You're not dangerous. Kael grabbed her shoulders. You're powerful, yes. But you're also good and kind and strong. I trust you to make the right choice when the time comes. But what if you're wrong? Lyra's voice broke. What if I destroy everything? Everyone we love, everyone in the kingdom. What if? Kael kissed her, hard and desperate. Through the soul bond, she felt his absolute certainty. Then we'll face it together, he said against her lips. Whatever happens, whatever you choose, I'm with you. Until the end. Lyra held on to him, wishing she could share his faith in her. The blood moon was only 2 months away now, and she still had no idea if she was strong enough to survive what was coming. Chapter 10. The blood moon rose red and massive over the palace, larger than Lyra had ever seen it. Tonight was the night. The awakening was coming, and there was no way to stop it. Lyra stood on the highest tower of the palace, watching the crimson light spread across the kingdom. Below, the city had been evacuated. Every civilian, every non-essential person had been sent far away, just in case the prophecy came true and she chose destruction. Only the royal guards and Kael's most trusted warriors remained. And even they kept their distance, fear clear in their eyes when they looked at her. She didn't blame them. She was terrified too. Through the soul bond, she felt Kael approaching before she heard his footsteps. You should be resting, he said, coming to stand beside her. The awakening will drain you. You need your strength. I can't rest. Lyra's hands gripped the tower railing. In a few hours, I might destroy everything we've built. Everyone we love. How am I supposed to rest? Kael wrapped his arms around her from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. You won't choose destruction. I know you won't. How can you be so sure? Because I know you. I've known you across 2 lifetimes. Your soul is fundamentally good, Lyra. Even when you were being tortured, even when you had every reason to hate the world, you chose forgiveness. You chose mercy. That's who you are. Lyra leaned back against him, drawing strength from his presence. What if the power is too much? What if I lose myself? Then I'll bring you back. Kael turned her to face him, his golden eyes intense. The soul bond connects us. No matter how lost you get, you can follow it back to me. I'll be your anchor. They kissed, soft and sweet, as the blood moon climbed higher in the sky. When they pulled apart, Lyra said, if something goes wrong, if I start to choose destruction, promise me you'll stop me. Whatever it takes. Lyra, promise me, Kael. I can't live with myself if I destroy everyone because you hesitated. Kael's jaw clenched. Through the soul bond, she felt his agony at the thought. But finally he nodded. I promise. But it won't come to that. A guard ran onto the tower, his face pale. Your Majesties, we found something in Lord Cedric's chambers. Evidence. They followed the guard down into the palace, into the rooms that had belonged to the murdered advisor. Other guards had torn the place apart, searching for clues. One guard held up a small leather journal. This was hidden behind a loose stone in the wall. Kael took the journal and opened it. His expression grew darker with every page he read. "What is it?" Lyra asked. "A record of all the assassination attempts." Kael's voice was tight with rage. "Cedric was the traitor. He was trying to kill you. But Cedric is dead. Who killed him?" Kael flipped to the last page and his face went white. He handed the journal to Lyra. The final entry read, "I can't do it anymore. I thought I was saving the kingdom, but I've become a monster. She doesn't deserve to die. She's good and kind, everything the prophecy said she might not be. I was wrong, but they'll come for me now. The others won't forgive failure." "The others?" Lyra's blood went cold. "Cedric wasn't working alone?" "There's a conspiracy," Kael said grimly. "Multiple people trying to ensure you don't survive the awakening." Before they could discuss further, the palace bells began to ring. Not the normal bells. The emergency bells that signaled an attack. They raced to the walls and looked out. An army approached, even larger than Isolde's had been. But this army was different. These were organized soldiers, well-armed and well-trained. And leading them was someone Lyra recognized. Lucian, the demon emissary. But he wasn't alone. Beside him rode dozens of other demons, all of them powerful. And behind them came wolves from multiple packs, their banners showing they came from territories all across the kingdom. "No," Lyra whispered. "This can't be." Kael's hands clenched on the wall. "It's a coalition. Demons and wolves working together. They've united to kill you before the awakening." Lucian's magically amplified voice rang out. "Queen Lyra, we've come to save the world from you. Surrender peacefully, and we'll make your death quick and painless." The royal guards looked at Kael, waiting for orders. But there were maybe 200 guards remaining. Against an army of thousands. They couldn't win this fight. "We need to evacuate you," Kael said urgently. "Get you somewhere safe until we can gather more forces." "There's no time." Lyra could feel it. The awakening was starting. Power was building inside her, pressure growing in her chest. "It's happening now. If we run, I might awaken in the middle of fleeing and destroy everyone anyway. Then we fight." Kael's demon form began to emerge. "We hold them off until you complete the awakening and make your choice." The royal guards rallied, preparing for a battle they knew they couldn't win. But they would die protecting their queen. Lyra's heart broke seeing their loyalty. These people were willing to die for her, even knowing she might destroy them anyway. She couldn't let that happen. "No," she said firmly. "I won't let you all die for me." She walked toward the palace gates before Kael could stop her. "Lyra, what are you doing? Ending this. One way or another." She pushed open the massive gates and walked out alone to face the army. Lucian held up a hand, stopping his forces from attacking. He looked almost sad as Lyra approached. "I wish it hadn't come to this, Your Majesty," he said. "But you're too dangerous to live. Surely you understand that." "I understand fear," Lyra said. "I've lived with it my whole life. But killing me won't solve anything. The power will just pass to someone else, someone who might not have the strength to control it. Then that's a problem for the future. Today we stop you." The demons and wolves began to advance. That's when Lyra felt it. The awakening reached critical mass. Power exploded from her body in a wave that knocked everyone off their feet. The ground cracked. The air itself seemed to tear apart. Lyra's consciousness was ripped away from the physical world and thrown into something else. A void. A space between spaces where reality itself was fluid. And in that void she saw them. Every moment of pain she had ever experienced. Every betrayal. Every wound. Her stepmother's cruelty. Isolde's torture. Ronan's rejection. Years of starvation and beatings, and being told she was worthless. The memories crashed over her like waves, each one cutting deeper than the last. And with the memories came rage. Pure, incandescent rage. She could destroy them all. Every person who had ever hurt her. Every kingdom that had stood by and done nothing. She could burn it all down and start over. The power showed her how easy it would be. One thought, one choice, and the entire world would be ash. "Do it," a voice whispered. It sounded like her own voice but twisted. "They all deserve it. Every single one of them. Make them pay." Lyra felt herself reaching for that option. Felt the destruction calling to her. But then she felt something else. The soul bond. Kael's presence, warm and steady and absolutely certain. He was still there, still fighting, still believing in her. And through that bond, she felt others. The guards who stayed to protect her. The servants who had shown her kindness. The people in the kingdom who had accepted her as their queen. Not everyone had hurt her. Not everyone deserved destruction. And even those who had hurt her, many had been manipulated. Used. Broken in their own ways. Serina had spent 500 years poisoned by jealousy and rejection. Ronan had been crushed by expectations and pride. Even Isolde had been twisted by dark magic she hadn't fully understood. Hurt people, but healed people heal people. Lyra thought about the person she had been. Weak, terrified, unable to defend herself. And the person she was now. Strong, powerful, a queen. The pain hadn't destroyed her. It had forged her into someone capable of surviving anything. And if she could survive, she could help others survive too. She could build a world where no one had to suffer like she had suffered. Where omegas weren't considered worthless. Where power didn't corrupt. Where love was valued more than strength. That world was possible, but only if she chose creation over destruction. Lyra pulled back from the edge of oblivion. She turned away from the rage and the pain and reached instead for the love. Love for Kael, who had saved her and believed in her. Love for herself, the broken girl who had become a queen. Love for the possibility of a better future. No, she said firmly to the dark voice. I choose life. I choose healing. I choose creation. The power inside her shifted. Instead of destruction, it became something else. Something pure and bright and beautiful. Lyra opened her eyes. She was still standing before the army, but everything had changed. She floated several feet above the ground, wreathed in silver light. Her demon wolf was visible around her, massive and magnificent, but peaceful. The army stared at her in awe and terror. Lyra raised her hands, and the power flowed out of her. But instead of destroying, it healed. The corrupted wolves in the army suddenly found their corruption burned away. The demons felt their darker impulses quieting. Even the humans felt their fear and hatred dissolving. The light spread across the entire kingdom, then beyond. Across territories and realms. Touching everything, healing everything. When it finally faded, Lyra descended back to the ground. The power had settled inside her, no longer chaotic, but controlled. Part of her now. She looked at Lucien and the army. I chose creation. And my first act is to forge a true peace between all our peoples. No more wars. No more hatred. We build together or we fail together. Lucien slowly dismounted from his horse and knelt. Forgive me, Queen Lyra. We were wrong to doubt you. One by one, the entire army knelt. Not out of fear, but out of respect. Kael was at Lyra's side immediately, pulling her into his arms. Through the soul bond, she felt his overwhelming pride and relief. I knew you could do it, he whispered. I always knew. I almost didn't, Lyra admitted. The rage was so strong. But you kept me anchored. That's what soulmates do. They held each other as the blood moon began to fade and normal moonlight returned. The crisis was over. The prophecy fulfilled. And Lyra had chosen the future she wanted to see. Over the next months, everything changed. Lyra used her power to forge binding peace treaties between the wolves, demons, and humans. She created councils where all three peoples had equal representation. She reformed laws to protect the weak and vulnerable. The Omega classification was abolished. No longer would wolves be judged as lesser based on strength alone. Worth was determined by character, not power. Lyra also hunted down the remaining conspirators who had tried to kill her. Most surrendered peacefully, grateful for mercy after what she had done. A few tried to fight and were dealt with swiftly. The palace was rebuilt, grander than before. And in the central courtyard, a monument was erected. It showed a wolf breaking free from chains, representing freedom from old prejudices. 6 months after the awakening, Lyra stood in the royal gardens with Kael. She wore a flowing silver gown, her hand resting on her slightly rounded belly. She was pregnant. The news had come as a shock. The healers said it should have been impossible with the soul bond. But apparently love had found a way. What should we name them? Kael asked, his hand covering hers on her stomach. Through the soul bond, they could both feel the tiny lives growing inside her. Twins. I was thinking, Lyra said softly. If they're boys, maybe one could be named Ronan. To honor the sacrifice your brother made. Kael was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. He would like that. He died a hero in the end. Everyone deserves to be remembered for their best moment, not their worst. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over their peaceful kingdom. Do you ever regret it? Kael asked. If you had never been tortured, never been rejected, you might have just been a normal Omega living a quiet life. No, Lyra said firmly, because all of that pain led me here. To you. To this life. To the power to change the world for the better. She turned to face him. I wouldn't change anything. Not even the worst moments. Because they made me who I am. Kael kissed her, and through the soul bond, they shared everything. Every emotion, every thought, every dream for the future. I love you, he said. Across every lifetime, in every realm, I will always love you. And I love you, Lyra replied. My mate, my king, my everything. As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, Lyra thought about the girl she had been. The broken, tortured Omega who thought she deserved nothing better than pain. That girl was gone. In her place stood a queen. A mother-to-be. A woman who had survived hell and chosen heaven. The Alpha who rejected her had set her free. The Alpha King who claimed her had helped her find herself. And in the end, love had won. Not because it was easy, but because it was worth fighting for. The end. Thank you so much for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and share with your friends. Your support means everything and helps me continue creating stories like this. What did you think of Lyra's journey? Did the ending satisfy you? Let me know in the comments below. And if you loved this story, check out my other romance audiobooks on the channel. I have plenty more tales of love, betrayal, redemption, and passion waiting for you. Until next time, remember, you are worthy of love. You are stronger than you know. And your happy ending is out there waiting for you. This is your host, signing off. See you in the next story.